Chapter 1159. Zhou Prefecture's young master's wedding day was a joyous occasion. There were many people there, and all of them were prominent figures. If anything happened here, it would definitely alarm the group of older figures in the neighboring courtyard. Zhou Pu did not want to alarm them. After all, today was the wedding day, and blood could not be spilled. However, he did not expect Jiang Chen to attack directly. At that moment, Zhou Pu kept retreating as if he did not want to fight with Jiang Chen here. However, to Jiang Chen, since he had attacked, there was no reason to stop. Moreover, today's matter was not related to him, but to the Pingtian clan. Jiang Chen had forgotten the memories of his previous lives, so he did not know what contributions he had made to the Six Realms. However, in this life, he remembered very clearly and saw very clearly that the Pingtian clan had contributed too much to the Six Realms. Now, whether it was for public or private reasons, Jiang Chen could not let this go. Are you crazy? If you attack here and alarm those elders, no one can protect you. Zhou Pu rebuked angrily. He kept dodging, feeling very resentful and furious. Why should I care? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and used spatial contraction. He instantly rushed to Zhou Pu's side. His fist landed like a dragon seal and landed on Zhou Pu's body. At that moment, Zhou Pu's expression changed drastically. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he was sent flying. Blood splattered along the way. In this exceptionally clean and neat courtyard, the blood was very glaring. He really dares to fight? Does this kid really have a powerful background? He dares to draw blood here. Zhou Pu was from the Zhou Tian Cave. Anyone who dares to attack a disciple of the Zhou Tian Cave must have a powerful background. We only need to watch. It's better not to get involved in this mess. The people in the courtyard all retreated to the side, not wanting to be implicated. At that moment, Zhou Pu steadied himself. Not only was there anger in his eyes, but there was also shock. He could see that Jiang Chen's cultivation was only that of a lower-rank lord. Meanwhile, he was a godly king. Although he had never been tested on the astral list and was not ranked on the list, his combat power was extraordinarily strong. Now, however, he had actually been injured by a lesser chief god. What the hell do you want? Zhou Pu said coldly. I have my own rules. You can't fight here. If you want to fight, then come outside with me. Picking a place to fight. Who spoiled you? Jiang Chen said contemptuously. His figure flashed and appeared beside Zhou Pu again. And this time, Zhou Pu was clearly prepared. He stretched out his hand and pushed out horizontally. His arm was like a red cloud, and it collided with Jiang Chen's fist. Boom! A loud explosion was heard as God Force spread out recklessly, like a gust of wind. This commotion, the group of seniors in the courtyard next door must have heard about it, right? Let's wait for a good show. I just want to know where this Jiang Chen came from. If this continues, isn't he afraid that he won't be able to clean up the mess? Many people had mocking looks on their faces. They were very curious and wanted to know what Jiang Chen would do next. On the other side, Jiang Zixiu had a strange expression on his face. He was constantly using secret techniques to contact the seniors in his clan. He was a little anxious. If Jiang Chen continued to fight like this, he would really cause a huge commotion. How dare you? Suddenly, an angry shout came from the courtyard next door. As soon as the voice was heard, a sound wave spread out and sent Jiang Chen flying. Then, a man in a long black robe flew over from the other courtyard. He stood in the air, and when his eyes opened and closed, it seemed as if the great Tao was rotating. He stared at Jiang Chen with a furious expression and said coldly, "Which family's disciple are you? Today is Zhou Prefecture's young master's wedding day. How dare you cause trouble here?" It's Zhou Prefecture's chief butler. It's said that this person's cultivation is extremely high and his combat strength is very strong. He used to be Zhou Prefecture's #1 fighter. Many people exclaimed. They did not expect to disturb Zhou Prefecture's chief butler. Why don't you ask him? Jiang Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His internal organs were in pain. The other party did not hold back at all. Moreover, what made Jiang Chen angry was that the other party did not attack Zhou Pu. He did not ask for the reason and directly targeted him. However, when he thought about it carefully, the chief butler of Zhou Prefecture did not need to ask. After all, Jiang Chun was the one causing trouble. Jiang Chun did not intend to explain. However, because of the incident with Beta Heike, his heart was burning with anger. Now that he was angry, he did not care if the other party was right or wrong. Chief Butler Zhou, this person stole my servant and wanted to kill me. Fellow Taoist Zhou Pu fought with him to help me, Mu Fengyan said, briefly explaining the whole story. Is this true? Chief Butler Zhou stared at Jiang Chun and frowned slightly. I don't care which force you're from. Today is Zhou Prefecture's young master's wedding day. If you continue to cause trouble, don't blame me for being rude. So what if I'm causing trouble? Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows and said contemptuously, a mere butler dares to meddle in my affairs. Oh! At this moment, Chief Butler Zhou's expression froze and a hint of fear flashed in his eyes. After all, the people who had come here today were all people with reputations. Even the people of the younger generation were all from top forces. He was afraid. Could Jiang Chun be from some top force? You? Which force are you from? Chief Butler Zhou asked. An outer disciple of Heavenly Gardens, Jiang Chun said softly. That's it? Chief Butler Zhou frowned. He thought that Jiang Chun's identity could not be that simple. However, Jiang Chun was very honest. He confirmed again and said, that's it. As soon as he said that, Chief Butler Zhou was a little confused. A mere outer disciple of Heavenly Gardens who did not join any force outside. Where did he get the guts to behave so atrociously here? At this moment, Chief Butler Zhou's face darkened. He said coldly, get lost. This is not Heavenly Gardens. You can't behave atrociously here. You're asking me to get lost? Fine, I'll get lost then. Jiang Chun suddenly smiled mockingly and said, it's just that. I'm afraid some people won't agree if I want to get lost. After saying that, Jiang Chun bent his body. It looked like he was really going to get lost. At this moment, Jiang Zixio was anxious. Big brother, you're now the representative of the Jiang clan outside. If you get lost today, what will happen to the Jiang clan's reputation? Jiang Zixio also knew that Jiang Chun's behavior was undoubtedly forcing him to make a move. A mere butler dares to control someone from the Jiang clan? At this moment, Jiang Zixio spoke. He took a step forward and stared at Chief Butler Zhou with cold eyes. He said coldly, if he really gets lost today, the Jiang clan will definitely swallow your limbs and send you to the netherworld, where you'll never die. What? That guy is clearly a human. How can he be from the Jiang clan? At this moment, not to mention the group of young people around, even Chief Butler Zhou was shocked. Chapter 1160. Everyone present knew Jiang Zixio. He was famous among the younger generation for being ruthless. He would start eating at the slightest disagreement. At this moment, since Jiang Zixio had spoken, Butler Zhou had to be patient. Jiang Zixio. He's a human, not a member of the Jiang clan. Butler Zhou said in a low voice. Don't mess around. Today is the wedding day of the young master of Zhou Prefecture. Although he's a human, he's still a member of the Jiang clan, Jiang Zixio said. My clan leader personally appointed him. If you don't believe me, you can ask my clan leader. As soon as he said this, Butler Zhou's expression became strange. Ask your clan leader? Sorry, I haven't lived long enough, so I don't dare to ask. Today, even if the elders of the Jiang clan were here, they wouldn't be so presumptuous. You have to give the other party some face. Butler Zhou said in a low voice, today, for the sake of the Jiang clan, I'll pretend that nothing happened. Don't continue to cause trouble. Butler Zhou's words were reasonable. Not only did he save face for himself and Zhou Prefecture, but he also gave face to the Jiang clan. However, as soon as he said this, he saw Jiang Chun suddenly rush out. Before anyone could react, he rushed directly in front of Mu Fengyan. In the next moment, Jiang Chun punched out, directly aiming for Mu Fengyan's head. How dare you? However, Butler Zhou reacted quickly. After all, his cultivation was still there. Before Jiang Chun's punch landed, a divine power exploded and directly sent Jiang Chun flying. However, because he was afraid of the Jiang clan, Butler Zhou was very gentle this time. He only sent Jiang Chen flying. However, what he didn't expect was that after Jiang Chen was sent flying, he lay on the ground and spat out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale, and he kept screaming. I didn't hurt him. Butler Zhou was dumbfounded. He thought that the blow, just now, probably wouldn't even hurt Jiang Chen. But this guy, what's going on? Jiang Zixio was also stunned. He could also see that Jiang Chen was obviously faking it. This guy really knows how to cause trouble. Why would the clan leader let him be the representative of the Jiang clan? Jiang Zixio's face darkened, and he cursed for a while. However, since Jiang Chen was faking it, he had to continue faking it. Otherwise, where would the Jiang clans head? Besides, in front of so many people, Steward Zhou had sent Jiang Chen flying twice. This was not Jiang Chen, but the Jiang clan's head. Do you have a death wish? At this moment, Jiang Zixio spoke. It was a simple sentence, but it revealed the Jiang clan's domineering and confidence. They would kill at the slightest provocation. I didn't hurt him. Moreover, he was the one who started it. As the butler of Zhou Prefecture, how can I not interfere in this matter? Butler Zhou said in a low voice, but there was fear in his eyes and face. Even though the Zhou mansion was strong, it couldn't compare to the Jiang clan at all. After all, the Jiang clan was a force with an extraordinaire, but Zhou Prefecture didn't have a single extraordinaire. Although there were rumors outside that a patriarch of Zhou Prefecture was about to break through to the extraordinaire level. But he hadn't broken through yet. Apologize to him, Jiang Zixio said coldly. Does he really think that the Jiang clan's reputation is worthless? Jiang Zixio, don't mess around. There's so many people here today. Everyone can see who's in the wrong. Butler Zhou said coldly. Since you say so, Jiang Zixio said softly. He paused for a moment, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The Jiang clan is unreasonable. Butler Zhou, you hit me so hard. My organs and even my soul are about to be destroyed. At this moment, Jiang Chen was struggling on the ground. He was bleeding from his orifices. He looked really pitiful. However, everyone's expression was quite strange. They stared at Jiang Chen. After a closer look, they realized that this guy wasn't injured at all. He was obviously pretending, and he was obviously pretending. He wanted to let them know that he was pretending, but they couldn't expose him. Butler Zhou was also furious. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen anyone as shameless as Jiang Chen. At the same time, he was also guessing. What was the relationship between Jiang Chen and the Jiang clan? Go and get someone who has a say in Zhou Prefecture here. Today, I want to get an explanation for him. Jiang Zixio's face was full of anger, but in his heart, he despised Jiang Chen from top to bottom. What a scammer. He was really good at pretending. I'm the butler of Zhou Prefecture. Of course, I have a say. Butler Zhou said coldly. Jiang Zixio, if you continue to cause trouble like this, you don't have to attend today's wedding. Please leave. CK? Butler Zhou still dares to say that? He's chasing Jiang Zixio away in front of us? This matter is getting out of hand. Everyone was shocked. They thought that Butler Zhou would compromise and give in, but they didn't expect him to be so confident. Jiang Zixio was also stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, is the Jiang clan's reputation insufficient? Even a butler couldn't be intimidated? What's the commotion? Don't you know that today is the wedding day of the young master of Zhou Prefecture? At this moment, another person flew over from the courtyard next door. It was an old man with white hair and a white beard. He held a peachwood walking stick and gave people a feeling of immortality. As he appeared, many of the young people present hurriedly bowed and shouted, "Greetings, Elder Zhou." Elder Zhou, your butler injured someone from the Jiang clan. Aren't you going to give us an explanation? Jiang Zixio raised his eyebrows. He also knew the old man. However, in comparison, Jiang Zixio addressed the old man much more directly. He didn't care if he called him Elder Zhou or not. Jiang Zixio, can't you wait until the wedding is over? Elder Zhou frowned and glared at Butler Zhou. He seemed to be in a bad mood. Elder Zhou, that brat started it first. After I came here, he even attacked in front of me. If I didn't intervene in time, the young master of the Suzuki Valley would be dead. Butler Zhou hurriedly explained. Elder Zhou heard this and waved his hand. He shouted, "Since everything is fine now, let's drop the matter." Drop the matter? You think we'll drop the matter just because you say so? Didn't you see how badly he was beaten up by Butler Zhou? We can't drop the matter, Jiang Zixio said. As he spoke, Jiang Zixio secretly transmitted his voice to Jiang Chun and asked, "What do you want? Are the elders of the Jiang clan here yet?" Jiang Chun didn't answer. Instead, he asked another question. "They're on the way. They should be here soon," Jiang Zixio transmitted his voice. "I'll tell you when they arrive. For now, I'll just lie down," Jiang Chun transmitted his voice. When Jiang Zixio heard this, he knew that Jiang Chun wasn't going to drop the matter. In that case, Jiang Zixio could only continue to play along with Jiang Chun. After all, he was the representative appointed by the clan leader. Chapter 1161. Everyone could tell that Jiang Chun was faking it, but no one dared to expose him. After all, the Jiang clan's prestige was there, and that was enough to intimidate anyone. Jiang Zixio, I'll say the same thing again. Everything can wait until the wedding is over, okay? Elder Zhou said softly. Elder Zhou was the Grand Elder of Zhou Prefecture. His status was second only to the governor of Zhou Prefecture. His status was so high that even the leaders of ordinary forces had to show him some respect. But now, with his status, he had to be polite to Jiang Zixio and even ask for Jiang Zixio's opinion. That was enough to show how powerful the Jiang clan was. I can't make the decision, Jiang Zixio said with a strange expression and pointed at Jiang Chun. You have to ask him. No way. You're a real member of the Jiang clan, and he's just a human. You still have to ask him? Everyone was dumbfounded. Had the Jiang clan's personality changed? They actually listened to a human? But soon, everyone came to their senses. When they looked at Jiang Chun, their eyes were filled with shock and fear. This kid, he can make Jiang Zixio listen to him. His status is definitely not ordinary. Butler Zhou sent him flying twice in a row. Although he's not injured, he's definitely embarrassed. There's going to be a good show today. How is Zhou Prefecture going to resolve this? Just as everyone was guessing, Elder Zhou's face darkened. He said, "My young friend, how about we drop today's matter?" "Sure." When Jiang Chun heard that, he lay on the ground and coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood. He said weakly, "Your cultivation is high, and you're powerful. Whatever you say goes." As soon as he said that, everyone's expression became strange. Their expressions were colorful. They could all tell that Jiang Chun was mocking them. The wedding banquet is about to begin. Old man Zhou's expression was ugly. After a moment of silence, he suddenly stretched out his hand. Like a cage, it enveloped Jiang Zixio and Jiang Chun. "I'm sorry to offend the two of you. After today, I will explain everything to the leader of the Jiang clan," Elder Zhou said in a deep voice. The wedding banquet was about to begin, and he didn't want to see Jiang Chun continue to cause trouble. Now, the only thing he could do was to get rid of these two people and let the wedding go on as usual. "Old man, how dare you detain me?" Jiang Zixio was furious. Although his status in the Jiang clan was not very high, he was still a member of the Jiang clan. Now, Elder Zhou was detaining him in front of everyone. This was not only a slap to his face, but also a challenge to the Jiang clan. Jiang Chen's heart skipped a beat. He thought that since Elder Zhou dared to do this, Zhou Prefecture must have the support of a transcendent being, and that transcendent being was most likely the Zhou Tian Cave. However, even if the Zhou Tian Cave supported Zhou Prefecture would not dare to do so in public. Today, since Elder Zhou was so confident, there was only one possibility. A powerful cultivator from the Zhou Tian Cave was most likely here to attend the wedding banquet, and that powerful cultivator's cultivation was most likely already at the transcendent being level. Jiang Zixio, for the sake of the Jiang clan, I can let you continue to attend the wedding banquet. But this person, Elder Zhou thought for a moment. It was indeed inappropriate to detain Jiang Zixiu. However, Jiang Chun, a human, was different. Elder Zhou was sure that it was impossible for the Jiang clan to take revenge on the Zhou clan for the sake of a human. "Heh, you're in big trouble," Jiang Zixiu said jokingly. "You can choose not to give me face, but you can't not give him face. He's just a human." Elder Zhou raised his eyebrows. "What can the Jiang clan do for a human? This is not your style." Then, Elder Zhou threw Jiang Chun out of the mountain gate with his palm. "Bastard Zhou! How dare you?" Suddenly, a furious roar was heard from afar. Then, Jiang Qingquan tore a hole in the void and caught Jiang Chun. Then, he brought Jiang Chun back to the courtyard. At the same time, Elder Zhou, Butler Zhou, and the others were all shocked. Jiang Qingquan, one of the transcendent beings of the Jiang clan. Everyone was shocked. Why would Jiang Qingquan be here? With his status, he shouldn't care about this wedding banquet. "Bastard Zhou, are you courting death?" Jiang Qingquan shouted angrily. Without waiting for Elder Zhou to speak, he slapped him. Elder Zhou wanted to dodge, but how could he possibly dodge a supernatural being's attack? Slap! Finally, with a crisp sound, everyone saw that half of Elder Zhou's face was swollen. This slapping the Grand Elder of Zhou Prefecture in the face in Zhou Prefecture. As expected of the Jiang clan, many people's hearts palpitated. The Jiang clan style was still so unreasonable. However, they were also very tough, very domineering. "Senior, you humiliated me in public for a human." Elder Zhou's expression was very ugly, but he was also glad that Jiang Qingquan did not kill him. Otherwise, with Jiang Qingquan's strength, he could kill him with just a finger. However, Elder Zhou was very confused. Why would Jiang Qingquan humiliate him for a human? "Senior Qingquan, you have to stand up for me. I was almost killed by the Grand Butler of Zhou Prefecture." At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was full of grievances. He even spat out a few mouthfuls of blood as he spoke. He looked really pitiful. "What happened? Tell me about it," Jiang Qingquan asked. "I took a fancy to the two servants of the young master of Suzuki Valley and wanted to use them. However, I didn't expect them to fight." Jiang Chen felt wronged. Most importantly, the people of Zhou Prefecture didn't care about right and wrong. "They targeted me and even hit me." After Jiang Chen finished speaking, everyone present was a little confused. Was that even something a human would say? "You wanted to steal other people's servants and even wanted to kill Mu Fingyan. You still have the right to do that. You still feel wronged? What are you feeling wronged for?" However, Jiang Chen's words were very reasonable in Jiang Qingquan's ears. Jiang Qingquan looked at Elder Zhou. His eyelids drooped slightly as he asked softly, "The Jiang clan stole two servants. Is that wrong?" If it's stealing, then it's definitely wrong." Elder Zhou thought to himself, but he said, "The Jiang clan stole people. That's not stealing, it's borrowing." "Yes, you're quite sensible, old man," Jiang Qingquan nodded. "Then, if he's not wrong, why are you still targeting him? Do you think that the Jiang clan is easy to bully just because we keep a low profile?" Jiang Qingquan pointed at Jiang Chun before anyone could respond. Glancing over the people present, he said seriously, "He's the representative appointed by the chieftain of our clan. His existence represents the personal arrival of our Jiang clan's patriarch." Chapter 1162. Jiang Qingquan's expression was very serious. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, and his words were filled with endless anger. Although Jiang Chun was a human, for some reason, the leader of the Jiang clan had personally appointed him as the representative. Wherever Jiang Chun went, the leader of the Jiang clan would personally come. However, it was with this identity that he was sent flying by Butler Zhou twice in a row when he came to the wedding banquet. Wasn't this a slap to the Jiang clan's face? At this moment, everyone present was shocked, especially Butler Zhou. He knew that he was in big trouble. We didn't know that he was the representative of the Jiang clan. Elder Zhou's face was pale, and his whole body was emitting cold air. It was so cold that it reached his bones. He knew that today's matter would not be settled peacefully. You didn't know? If you didn't know, then this matter will be settled? Jiang Qingquan raised his eyebrows and struck out with his palm, directly suppressing Butler Zhou. Then, in front of everyone, Jiang Qingquan gently clenched his fist, and Butler Zhou's entire body turned into nothingness, not leaving a trace of him behind. Today is the wedding day of the young master of the Zhou prefecture. Naturally, I won't let there be any bloodshed here, Jiang Qingquan said. Although I killed the butler of the Zhou prefecture, you all saw that I didn't let him bleed. As soon as this was said, the group of people was a little confused. The so-called bloodshed, in the Jiang clan's understanding, was this what it meant? This understanding was quite unique. Senior, I'm a direct descendant of the Zhou prefecture, from the Zhou cave, Elder Zhou said in a low voice. The meaning of his words was very clear. If you take action today, the people of the Zhou prefecture might not dare to do anything, but the people of the Zhou cave would definitely dare to step forward. Just as Elder Zhou finished speaking, he saw a middle-aged man in the courtyard next door rise into the air and slowly land beside Elder Zhou. With the appearance of this person, the atmosphere at the scene was obviously a little tense, especially Jiang Qingquan. When he saw this middle-aged man, his pupils suddenly contracted, as if he was very surprised. Jiang Qingquan, since Butler Zhou is dead, let's just let this matter pass, the middle-aged man said. With your status and our status, there's no need to make things too difficult. I didn't expect that the great elder of the Zhou cave would be here as well. Surprise, Jiang said in a low voice. The great elder of the Zhou cave, great elder of the cave, the great elder of the Zhou cave, Zhou Xinglong, the great elder of the Zhou cave, the great elder of the Zhou cave, great Zhou Long. Logically speaking, extraordinaires would not casually start a war with each other. After all, they were too powerful. Once they started a war, they could easily destroy a world. Sure to Shungs, of course, Shungs. However, today's matter was a little different. Beating up Jiang Chun is equivalent to beating up our clan leader. Do you think we should just let this matter go? Jiang Qingquan said in a low voice. Then when I go back, I'll be killed by our clan leader. What do you think? Zhou Xinglong frowned, also aware of the seriousness of the matter. If Butler Zhou had beaten up an ordinary disciple of the Jiang clan, or even an elder of the Jiang clan, this matter wouldn't be so serious. However, the key was that the other party was the representative appointed by the clan leader of the Jiang clan. Beating up Jiang Chun was equivalent to beating up the clan leader of the Jiang clan. Zhou Xinglong knew very well that the clan leader of the Jiang clan had already stepped into the realm of transcendence several generations ago. Now, his cultivation level was so high that it was unfathomable. There were even rumors that the clan leader of the Jiang clan might have transformed and taken a step that was unimaginable to ordinary people. Thinking of this, Zhou Xinglong couldn't help but feel a little afraid, but he wouldn't back down. Zhou Prefecture was the power of the Zhou cave, and the direct bloodline of Zhou Prefecture came from the Zhou cave. Today, if the wedding of the young master of Zhou Prefecture was disrupted, then Zhou Prefecture's reputation would be tarnished. Similarly, the Zhou cave's reputation would also be greatly damaged. When the wedding is over, I'll definitely go to the ancestral land of the Jiang clan and personally apologize to your clan leader, Zhou Xinglong said in a low voice. Zhou Xinglong was in transcendence, and for in transcendence, apologizing to others was already a kind of humiliation. However, in order for today's wedding to go on, Zhou Xinglong had to do this. Otherwise, with Jiang Qingquan's personality, there would definitely be a fight between the two of them today. I'll have to ask for his opinion on this. Jiang Qingquan looked at Jiang Chun and said telepathically, "It's about time, right? Senior Jiang, I'll be frank with you. Today, I'm here to snatch the bride," Jiang Chun said telepathically. "I'll be direct. I'm just asking if you're willing to help." As soon as he said this, Jiang Qingquan's entire being was in a mess. Only now did he understand that the main reason Jiang Chun was causing such a big commotion was to snatch the bride. This was a little troublesome. However, within the Jiang clan, the management of status was very strict. Jiang Chen represented the clan leader. So before the clan leader spoke, Jiang Chen's words represented the clan leader's words. Now, since Jiang Chen asked, Jiang Qingquan naturally wouldn't shake his head and say no. Moreover, the Jiang clan had recently received news that the woman from the Six Realms who was marrying the young master of Zhou Prefecture seemed to be extraordinary. Therefore, if they could take this opportunity to snatch the woman, it wouldn't be impossible. The Jiang clan needs to keep a low profile now. We need to make friends and change the world's attitude and understanding of us, Jiang Qingquan explained. Why don't we wait until the wedding is over and then snatch the bride? For the sake of Zhou Prefecture's reputation? By the time the wedding is over, they'll have already gone through the wedding ceremony. Jiang Chen was a little anxious. Then, do we snatch the bride now? Jiang Qingquan asked. Can we snatch the bride now? Jiang Chen asked. He was also a little diffident. After all, Zhou Xinglong was here today. It would be very difficult for Jiang Qingquan to snatch the bride by himself. However, Jiang Qingquan was quite domineering. He directly sent a message to Jiang Chen, asking him to restrain Zhou Xinglong. As for whether they could succeed in snatching the bride by then, that was another matter. Thank you very much. Jiang Chen thanked him. Today, no matter the result, I will remember the Jiang clan's kindness. When this is over, I will give the Jiang clan a big gift. Oh, a big gift? Jiang Qingquan was stunned. The Jiang clan is a master-level force. The Jiang clan wouldn't want a big gift from you, right? However, Jiang Qingquan didn't say that out loud. At this moment, he stopped sending messages to Jiang Chen secretly. Instead, he looked directly at Zhou Xinglong. His body crackled as he said, Zhou Xinglong, I haven't exercised for a long time. Since I met you today, it's a good opportunity for me to exercise. You really want to do this? After all, he's just a human. Is it worth it for the Jiang clan to do so much for him? Zhou Xinglong asked. Whether it's worth it or not, that's the Jiang clan's business. Today, let's not talk about anything else. I just want to have a fight with you and see how high your cultivation is now, Jiang Qingquan said. Then, he directly rushed into the clouds and arrived at the extraterrestrial starry sky. Chapter 1163. A battle between extraordinaires could not happen in a world. After all, a world could not withstand the power of an extraordinaire. At that moment, Jiang Qingquan had already left for the extraterrestrial. Zhou Xinglong felt helpless, knowing that this battle was unavoidable. However, Zhou Xinglong could also tell that Jiang Qingquan did not want to fight to the death with him. He was just stalling for time. Zhou Xinglong was not stupid. He knew that if he did not resolve this matter quickly, it would only get worse. In the end, even the Zhou Tian cave would not be able to deal with it. It's settled, Zhou Xinglong said to Elder Zhou. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Then, he leaped into the air and flew toward the extraterrestrial. You two little bastards. No matter who comes today, it's useless. With Zhou Xinglong's order, Elder Zhou was naturally confident. He also understood Zhou Xinglong's intention. He wanted to kill Jiang Chen and Jiang Zixiu. As long as those two were dead, today's matter would be considered over for the time being. As for what would happen in the future, with the Zhou Tian cave's background, they would not be afraid of the Jiang clan. At that moment, Elder Zhou directly attacked. His palm was like a tsunami, slapping toward Jiang Chen and Jiang Zixiu. Do you want to die? Jiang Zixiu was shocked. He did not expect Elder Zhou to attack right after Jiang Qingquan left. Moreover, Elder Zhou was not the only one. In the courtyard next door, two more people walked over. They were both godly, venerable level fighters. With the three of them working together, they wanted to kill Jiang Chen and Jiang Zixiu directly. How dare you? In the extraterrestrial, Jiang Qingquan noticed it immediately. However, he was already fighting with Zhou Xinglong and could not get away. At that moment, Jiang Qingquan was furious. He did not expect the Zhou Tian cave to be so bold as to kill members of the Jiang clan in front of him. The Jiang clan is infamous, but the Zhou Tian cave is not to be trifled with either. Zhou Xinglong said coldly. Today, the wedding of the young master of Zhou Prefecture will be held as scheduled. No one can interfere. After today, my Jiang clan and your Zhou Tian cave are going to fight for real. You have to think carefully. Jiang Qingquan shouted angrily. When has the Zhou Tian cave ever been afraid of the Jiang clan? Zhou Xinglong narrowed his eyes. As the two of them spoke, they had already exchanged more than 100 blows. At the same time, in a courtyard in Zhou Prefecture, Jiang Chun and Jiang Zixio stood together. Jiang Zixio relied on a treasure to block the attacks of Elder Zhou and the other two. However, if this continued, they would not be able to hold on sooner or later. Zhou Prefecture, I think we should just let this go. If we really kill the two of them, we'll be going against the Jiang clan. Yeah, there's no need for that. If we stop now, we'll let this matter go for our sake. At this moment, in another courtyard, many people were flying in the air, looking down at Jiang Chun and the others. Some people were trying to persuade Zhou Prefecture not to do this. It was not worth it. However, in Zhou Prefecture's current situation, it was already too late to back down. Zhou Xinglong had given the order to kill Jiang Chun and Jiang Zixio to ensure that the wedding would be held as scheduled. In Zhou Prefecture, for the sake of their own reputation and that of the Zhou Tian cave, had no choice but to continue. Zhou Prefecture will carry out today's matter on the orders of the Zhou Tian cave, Elder Zhou said in a deep voice. Elder Zhou said in a deep voice. He exerted the extraordinary power in his body. His fist was like a falling sun, pressing down on Jiang Chun and Jiang Zixio. Boom! After a series of explosions, Jiang Zixio's treasures were shattered. The two of them flew backward, blood splattering everywhere. Their souls were almost extinguished. After all, the difference between their cultivation and Elder Zhou's was too great. The two of you shouldn't have come here to cause trouble today, Elder Zhou said in a deep voice. If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves. Don't blame Zhou Prefecture. I didn't expect the name of the Jiang clan to not be able to intimidate them. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly, secretly regretting his carelessness. Now it seemed like today's game was over. However, at this moment, a black cloud suddenly appeared in the sky. The black cloud covered the sky, covering the sun and the moon. Even the Great Path could not get close to the black cloud. It's not a black cloud, it's black blood. A sea of black blood. It blots out the sky. That's the Great Void Race. At this moment, the crowd exclaimed. Judging by the appearance of the black blood, it was definitely an extraordinary. While the crowd was still exclaiming, the black blood had already arrived in the courtyard and transformed into a black-haired old man. He did not say anything. Instead, he slammed his palm across the void. The palm print was like a black cloud, directly killing Elder Zhou and the other two ultimate gods. What's going on? The ancestor of the great void race, the supreme heavens. At this moment, the crowd exclaimed. They did not understand why the supreme heavens, the god of slaughter, would come to the wedding today. Moreover, the supreme heavens did not say anything when they arrived and killed the three people from Zhou Prefecture. Could they be here for revenge today? However, the crowd knew very well that there was no grudge between the Great Void Race and Zhou Prefecture. Supreme Heavens! What's the meaning of this? At this moment, the governor of Zhou Prefecture appeared. He already knew what was going on here, but he thought that Zhou Xinglong could handle it, so he did not appear. But now, he was panicking. This matter was getting out of hand. I don't care if you want to kill Jiang Zixio, but if you want to kill Jiang Chun, you must be tired of living. The Supreme Heavens was furious. He pointed at Jiang Chun and said, Do you know who he is? Before the Supreme Heavens could continue speaking, an emperor flew out from the courtyard and hurried to the Supreme Heavens. He lowered his head and bowed. Greetings, Supreme Heavens. You're interesting. The anger on the Supreme Heaven's face became even more obvious when he saw the emperor. That was because the emperor was the consecrated of the Great Void Race. Supreme Heavens, what do you mean? The emperor trembled. He had never seen the Supreme Heavens so angry before. One should know that extraordinaries had already transcended. Ordinary matters were nothing to them. Therefore, under normal circumstances, extraordinaries would not get angry. They were above nature and looked down on everything mercilessly. But today, the highest consecrated of the great void race is here. You are also the consecrated of the great void race. Are you just going to watch him be humiliated? The supreme heaven's eyes were cold. He pointed at Jiang Chun and said, "This person is the highest consecrated of the great void race." This what? The highest consecrated? Isn't he the representative of the Jiang clan? How did he become the highest consecrated of the great void race? At this moment, everyone present was shocked. Even Zhou Xinglong, who was fighting fiercely with Jiang Qingquan in the extraterrestrial, was terrified. The highest consecrated of the great void race and the representative of the Jiang clan. The weight of these two identities was too heavy. Chapter 1164. Zhou Xinglong regretted it. If he had known that Jiang Chun had such an identity, he wouldn't have allowed Elder Zhou and the rest to take action. Now, he had provoked two evil races at once. No matter how deep the Zhou Tian cave's foundations were, it was difficult for them to wage war against two evil races at the same time. Let's put the wedding banquet aside for now. At this moment, Supreme Heavens' face was gloomy and filled with murderous intent. Behind him, a sea of black blood was undulating. He was enraged. The Jiang clan didn't know how precious Jiang Qin's blood essence was, but he knew about the Great Void race. Supreme Heaven still had lingering fears. If he had come a step later and Jiang Qin had died, it would have been a great loss to the Great Void race. This loss concerned the future of the entire Great Void race. If Jiang Chun had died, the Great Void race wouldn't have been able to find a suitable blood essence to cleanse their bodies for a long period of time. Then, the Great Void race might have been destroyed. At this thought, Supreme Heavens' anger burned even brighter. Listen up, all of you. Today, I, Supreme Heavens, will say this. What *T wedding banquet? If this matter isn't resolved, forget the wedding banquet. Zhou Prefecture will cease to exist. Supreme Heavens' voice was loud and clear, and it was filled with endless murderous intent and fury. At this moment, the entire Zhou Prefecture was alarmed. The patriarchs of Zhou Prefecture had all come out of seclusion, and the various elders and high officials had all rushed over. When they saw the angry face of Supreme Heavens, they knew that today's matter had gotten out of hand. If not for Prince's reminder that you're still causing trouble, I wouldn't have come here. Thank goodness for his reminder. Supreme Heavens glanced at Jiang Chun with an odd expression. This guy was a precious commodity, a protected animal of the Great Void race. Senior, I've set my eyes on the marriage partner of the young master of Zhou Prefecture, Jiang Chun said through telepathy. The Supreme Heavens rolled his eyes and snapped. As a cultivator, we should focus on cultivation. What's the point of romantic relationships? I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. I'm from the 6 realms. The marriage partner of the young master of Zhou Prefecture is my disciple. Jiang Chun transmitted his voice directly. He wasn't worried at all that the Supreme Heavens would tell anyone about this. After all, when the ancestral realm was destroyed, the evil race did not make a move. This meant that the evil race had no ill intentions towards the ancestral realm. Moreover, Jiang Qin's blood essence was far too precious for the Great Void race. It was like a life-saving elixir. Just based on these 2 points, Jiang Qin was sure that the Great Void race would definitely stand on his side. As expected, the Supreme Heavens blinked and transmitted his voice. What does where you're from have to do with me? I only know that if the Great Void race doesn't have you, I'm afraid our path will be cut short. It's good that Senior thinks this way. Jiang Qin smiled. He then rubbed his hands and asked, Then what about my disciple? Of course we'll take her away. Do you even need to ask about how the Great Void race operates? We don't want to be like the Jiang clan. We don't want to be whores and pretend to be chaste. The Great Void race likes to do things openly. Supreme Heaven said. Jiang Chun couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. He laughed very happily. However, Jiang Chun was also a little ashamed. The Jiang clan had asked him to be their representative because they wanted to make use of his identity and actions to let the world know how good the Jiang clan was. But who would have thought that Jiang Chun was actually such a person? Senior Supreme Heavens, what are you doing? If there's anything, we can discuss it. At this moment, the governor of Zhou Prefecture walked over and bowed to the Supreme Heavens in a very humble manner. However, the Supreme Heavens didn't even look at him. He only pointed at Jiang Chun and said, "My clan's highest consecrator almost died in your Zhou Prefecture. You can do as you deem fit." Senior Supreme Heavens, what are you saying? I'm a very easygoing and reasonable person. Jiang Chun hurriedly said, "Look, aren't I living well now? Yes, yes, yes. Little brother is right. It's good that you're still alive." The governor of Zhou Prefecture wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, Jiang Chun was still alive. Otherwise, his youngest son's wedding today would probably become the funeral of Zhou Prefecture. Did you see that? Our Jiang clan's representative is so reasonable. Our Jiang clan is the same. We've always been easygoing, and reasonable. Jiang Zixio added from the side. This was exactly what the Supreme Heavens had said. They had to be a whore, yet they had to establish a monument to their chastity. That, little friend, the governor of Zhou Prefecture, was all smiles. However, before he could finish his sentence, the Supreme Heavens and Jiang Zixio's faces darkened instantly. What did you call him? Little friend? Are you qualified to call him that? Watch your words. Show some respect to our representative. The two of them scolded angrily, their faces dark. That? The governor of Zhou Prefecture was stunned. For a moment, he didn't know how to address the other party. Governor, you're too polite. My status is just average, just a little higher than yours. You can just call me Your Holiness. I don't mind, Jiang Qin said with a smile. As soon as he said that, everyone present couldn't help but roll their eyes. Your Holiness? This title couldn't be used unless one became a saint or an ancestor. You're just a lower chief god, yet you want a governor to call you Your Holiness? However, it made sense when you thought about it carefully. After all, he had the support of two major evil races. That, Your Holiness, how do you think this matter should be settled? The governor of Zhou Prefecture was still all smiles. He didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. This is simple. Just compensate me. Jiang Chen said, I'm a reasonable person. As long as the compensation is enough, I can let go of anything. Your wedding can also proceed as planned. That, then, may I ask what Your Holiness needs? The governor of Zhou Prefecture asked. When he heard that Jiang Chun wanted compensation, the governor of Zhou Prefecture was secretly delighted. As long as it wasn't too much, he could give any compensation. Even more, it would be easier to rope in Jiang Chun. After all, as long as he could rope in Jiang Chun, it would be equivalent to establishing a relationship with the two major evil races. By then, his Zhou Prefecture status in the Eastern Star Zone would be much higher. I only want one person, Nayland Mayer, Jiang Chun said. Just one person? That's not too much, is it? As soon as he said that, the people of Zhou Prefecture were a little confused. You just said that if you asked for compensation, the wedding can proceed as planned. But listen, is this what you're saying? You've already taken the bride away. How can the wedding continue? That at this moment, the governor of Zhou Prefecture looked a little upset. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. If he said it well, he would have to give Nayland Mayer to Jiang Chun. If he said it badly, would the two major evil races let it go? Ahem. Everyone, in fact, you've all misunderstood today. My boy is not marrying that woman named Nayland Mayer. He's marrying someone else. Suddenly, the governor of Zhou Prefecture looked serious and explained. As for Nayland Mayer, she's a guest that my Zhou Prefecture has just invited. Chapter 1165. The governor of Zhou Prefecture explained seriously, not caring if others believed him or not. In short, after explaining, he saluted Jiang Chun and said, Your Honor, since you want Nayland Mayer, Zhou Prefecture will give her to you. That's it? Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment. Wasn't this too simple? If he had known, why would he have gone through so much trouble? Of course, Jiang Chun didn't know how scared the governor of Zhou Prefecture was at this moment. Just because of Jiang Chun alone, the Jiang clan and the Great Void Race had sent 2 extraordinaires. This wasn't a simple intimidation, but a direct threat. The governor of Zhou Prefecture didn't dare to speak carelessly. He thought carefully before saying these words. As for face, was that important? If he didn't give Jiang Chun an explanation today, not only would he lose face, but the entire Zhou Prefecture would be gone. Although Zhou Prefecture was under the influence of the Zhou Tian Cave, the Zhou Tian Cave wouldn't offend 2 great evil clans for a mere Zhou Prefecture. The governor of Zhou Prefecture was very clear about this. Senior Qinquan, there's no need to fight. The matter has been resolved. At this moment, Jiang Chun shouted towards the sky. Although his voice couldn't reach the outer realm, Jiang Qinquan could naturally hear it with his cultivation. However, to everyone's surprise, Jiang Qinquan didn't respond. At the same time, everyone looked up at the sky. The starry sky was bright, and stars were constantly blooming with radiance. Upon closer inspection, it was clear that those were the energy waves that erupted from the fierce battle between Jiang Qinquan and Zhou Xinglong. The 2 of them had set up a domain barrier in the outer realm, which prevented their energy from spreading. Otherwise, this world would be destroyed. And now, looking at the 2 of them, it seemed like they were going to fight. Your Honor, I'll bring the person you want to see to you in a moment. Then, can my youngest son's marriage proceed? The prefecture chief of Zhou Prefecture asked. Of course, no problem. Jiang Chun smiled. Thank you, Your Honor. It is the honor of Zhou Prefecture for Your Honor to attend my son's wedding today. The chief of Zhou Prefecture said hurriedly with a big smile. Come, come, come. Your Honor, please sit with me. I'm sorry. How can a young man like me sit with you? Jiang Chun was very modest, but his body was very honest. He pointed outside the courtyard and said, The seats of honor are in that direction. Yes. The governor of Zhou Prefecture was stunned for a moment. Then he hurried over and said, Your Honor, I'll take you there. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chun nodded. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked back at Mu Fengyin and asked, I'm taking your 2 servants away. Do you have any objections? Without waiting for Mu Fengyin to speak, Jiang Chun said seriously, If you have any objections, just say it. I'm a very reasonable person. If you don't agree, then I don't want them. Mu Fengyin was already scared out of his wits. How could he say no at this moment? He had clearly seen that Zhou Prefecture had given away his youngest son's fiancée. If he dared to shake his head and say no, he might not be able to walk out of Zhou Prefecture alive. Even the Suzuki Valley would suffer. Please take them away. Mu Fengyin wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and turned his head to the side. He didn't even dare to look at Jiang Chun. Let's go. Then, Jiang Chun said softly and waved his hand. The group of people walked toward the wedding banquet hall in a grandiose manner. Supreme Heavens and Jiang Chun walked side by side. The governor of Zhou Prefecture led the way in front, while Jiang Zixio, Luo Xin, and Beta Heike followed behind. Behind them was a group of people from the older generation. They were all of high status and seniority, so they were qualified to enter the wedding banquet hall. As for the younger generation in the courtyard, they weren't qualified. If word of what happened today gets out, it will definitely cause a huge uproar. I'm afraid the name Jiang Chun will be famous all over the world. In the courtyard, a group of prodigies gathered together, each of them having their own ideas. They were all aware of Jiang Chun's identity. If they could rope him in, it would be the same as roping in 2 major evil races. I've heard that Nayland Mei is extremely charming. The 2 servants of the Bell Sound Valley. The woman is also a beautiful, celestial immortal. Jiang Chun wants both of them. Could it be? Everyone guessed and discussed animatedly. In the end, someone came to the conclusion that Jiang Chun was lustful. At this moment, many people started to take action. Someone burned the decree and reported what had happened here to their faction. There were also people who immediately left to personally report to their superiors. Not long after, all the major forces knew about this matter. At the same time, in Zhou Prefecture, the wedding banquet went on as usual. However, the groom did not change, but the bride was changed at the last minute. At this moment, in the main hall, the young master of Zhou Prefecture was smiling as he went through the wedding ceremony with a woman he didn't know. Jiangchen sat in the seat of honor and looked at the young master of Zhou Prefecture with a smile, nodding and praising him. The young master of Zhou Prefecture is a man of striking appearance and outstanding talent. He will definitely achieve great things in the future. However, these words were quite harsh in the ears of the people of Zhou Prefecture. A man of striking appearance? Outstanding talent? Compared to you, he's nothing. You snatched someone else's bride, and he still has to let you sit in the seat of honor and attend the wedding banquet. Who in the world would do such a thing? Half an hour later, the wedding ceremony ended, and the fine wine was served. Jiang Chun, the supreme heavens, Jiang Zixiu, and the others sat together, eating and drinking with a relaxed expression. Not long after, the young master of Zhou Prefecture came over with a glass of wine. He squatted in front of Jiang Chun and said with a smile, "It is my honor to be able to attend my wedding banquet today. Let me propose a toast to you." "Young Master Zhou, you are too polite," Jiang Chun said softly, but his heart was blooming with joy. He suddenly understood that sometimes strength was not important. What was important was whether or not someone was willing to support you. Now, after snatching your bride, you still have to come over and propose a toast to me with a smile. Prefecture Lord, there are a few patriarchs from the top forces outside. They said they want to see Jiang Chun. At this moment, a guard walked in and whispered a few words in the ears of the Prefecture Lord of Zhou Prefecture. Patriarchs from the top forces? Invite them in? The Prefecture Lord of Zhou Prefecture said hurriedly. Zhou Prefecture naturally invited the patriarchs of the top forces. However, those people were usually in seclusion. This time, after the invitations were sent out, they did not come. Only some elders and disciples of their forces came. However, the Prefecture Lord of Zhou Prefecture did not expect that the patriarchs of the top forces would come when the wedding ceremony was already over. They even specified that they wanted to see Jiang Chun. What was the meaning of this? Congratulations, I just came out of seclusion. I'm late. Lord Zhou, you are so lucky. Your youngest son is getting married. Soon, you will become a master. After a few breaths, 6 old men walked in. They were all very polite. Chapter 1166. The 6 old men came from 6 different top organizations, and they were all at the level of a great ancestor. Perhaps the cultivation bases of these great ancestors were not as high as that of the governor of Zhou Prefecture, but their statuses were very high. One word from them could mobilize all the powerhouses in the entire organization. Therefore, the governor of Zhou Prefecture was very courteous to these people. He invited each of them to take a seat. Who are these people? After they were seated, the governor of Zhou Prefecture had a strange expression on his face. This was because each of the 6 old men had a very beautiful young woman by their side. Could it be that these old men were old in appearance but young in heart? There's no hurry. We're here today to congratulate young Master Zhou on his marriage. Secondly, we're here to meet His Excellency Jiang Chun. Yes. There's so many people here. May I ask which one of you is His Excellency Jiang Chun? The 6 old men spoke as their gazes swept across the people in the main hall. For a moment, they could not tell who Jiang Chun was. That's him, the governor of Zhou Prefecture hurriedly introduced when he heard that. When the 6 old men heard that, they could not help but look over. When they saw that Jiang Chun only had a lower-rank lord-level cultivation base, a hint of doubt flashed through their eyes. However, things like cultivation base were not important. The 6 old men immediately stood up and walked over to Jiang Chun with wine glasses in hand. They lowered their bodies and said respectfully, "It's better to meet you in person than to hear about you. You live up to your name, His Excellency Jiang Chun. You have such status and cultivation base at such a young age. You're a dragon among men. You're a prodigy, a genius." After a round of compliments, Jiang Chun was grinning from ear to ear. He drank with the 6 of them one by one. After they finished drinking, one of the old men had a strange expression. He raised his eyebrows at Jiang Chun and asked tentatively, "His Excellency Jiang Chun, do you have a cultivation partner?" Ah! Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. Why was he suddenly asking about this? No. Oh, we understand. Understood. Understood. At this moment, the 6 old men had a knowing look on their faces. Then, they brought the young girls to Jiang Chun's side. "Lord Jiang Chun, with your age and achievements, it is indeed time for you to find a Taoist companion. I have specially chosen one for you in my faction. She is the holy maiden of my faction. What do you think?" "Your Honor, don't listen to him. Look at this one of mine. What do you think?" For a moment, the 6 old men hurriedly opened their mouths as if they were trying to sell something. Jiang Chen's old face was stupefied. Holding the wine cup, he was a little confused. What was going on? What are you guys doing? It's the first time we've met, and you've already arranged a marriage for me? Then, when we meet again, will you have to arrange a funeral for me? Your Honor, it's fine for young people to have a few more Tao companions. Yes, yes, yes. Moreover, we have always wanted to establish a good relationship with the Jiang clan and the Great Void race. We hope that Your Honor. Hearing these words, Jiang Chun understood. It turned out that these old fellows weren't here to attend the wedding, but to rope him in. To be precise, they were here to rope in the Jiang clan and the Great Void race. But if they wanted to rope him in, then so be it. Why did they send him a young and beautiful girl? Did you guys misunderstand something? Jiang Chun muttered. We are all experienced people. One of the old men smiled and said, Your Honor, did you take a fancy to that female servant in the Suzuki Valley? Did you also take a fancy to that Nayland mayor? We all know that heroes are young, and the only good thing is that there is no one around. Yes, yes, yes. We know that Your Honor likes this kind of person. That's why we brought her here. At this moment, Jiang Chun was really stupefied. Good heavens, I came here to save people. Although Luoshin and Nayland Mayer are indeed peerless, Luoshin is a man. As for Nayland Mayer, she hasn't even arrived yet. You 6 old fellows, just based on those rumors, you determined that I'm a pervert. Our Jiang clan has always been very friendly, and we are also willing to be on good terms with all the big forces. Since the patriarchs of the 6 forces have personally come here today, then I think that Jiang Chen's representative will definitely be willing to accept them as a sign of our Jiang clan's friendliness. Jiang Zixu interrupted and even winked at Jiang Chun and said telepathically, Now, you have to agree, right? Agree? If I nod my head, then these 6 girls will all be mine. What should I do? Jiang Chun said angrily. Then, Jiang Chun shook his head and said, You've misunderstood. If you want to be on good terms with the Jiang clan and the Great Void race, you can directly talk to their patriarchs. As he spoke, Jiang Chun pointed at Supreme Heavens beside him and said, This senior is the patriarch of the Great Void race, Supreme Heavens Transcendent Stage. As soon as he said this, the 6 old men's bodies clearly trembled. They were so focused on Jiang Chun that they didn't notice Supreme Heavens beside Jiang Chun. Now that they heard that Supreme Heavens was actually the patriarch of the Great Void race and was at the Transcendent Stage, the 6 of them didn't dare to breathe. One of them even immediately picked up a wine jug and said in a low voice, Senior Supreme Heavens, we didn't know you. We've offended you before, so we'll punish you with a jug. We've offended you, please forgive us, Senior Supreme Heavens. In an instant, the 6 of them picked up their wine jugs, and just like that, they started drinking. On the other hand, Supreme Heavens sat there quietly, completely ignoring them. After all, he was an extraordinaire, and ordinary living beings couldn't enter his eyes at all. Today, if Jiang Chun wasn't here, Supreme Heavens wouldn't even bother to come. In his eyes, all living beings present were ants and dust, and they weren't even worth his attention. Jiang Chun also took in Supreme Heaven's attitude. At this moment, he finally understood how high an extraordinaire's attitude was. If I wasn't useful to the Great Void race, Supreme Heavens probably wouldn't even look at me, Jiang Chun thought to himself. But so what? At least now, the Great Void race treated Jiang Chun as a treasure. Zhou Shenglong, the next time I see you, I'll swallow you whole." At this moment, an angry roar came from the outer realm. After a few breaths, Jiang Qinkuan walked into the great hall with a dark face. Without saying anything, he picked up his wine jug and drank a mouthful, muttering, "Old man, you ran away when you couldn't beat me. Luckily, you ran fast enough, or I would have swallowed you whole." As the saying went, the speaker didn't mean it, but the listener took it seriously. As soon as Jiang Qinkuan said this, everyone in Zhou Prefecture felt their faces twitch. Zhou Xinglong isn't Jiang Qinkuan's match. Does this mean that the Zhou Tian cave is weaker than the Jiang clan? Looks like our Zhou Prefecture has to be on good terms with the Jiang clan. After all, the bigger the tree, the better. This is the truth of survival. Jiang Qinkuan, it's fine if you pretend in front of others, but why are you pretending in front of me? At this moment, Supreme Heaven spoke. They were mortal enemies with the Jiang clan, and now that they were both extraordinaires, there was no reason not to fight. Chapter 1167. The Jiang clan and the Great Void race were mortal enemies. As for how they became mortal enemies, it was hard to say. Perhaps even the patriarchs of the two clans did not know. However, once they met, there was bound to be friction. Fortunately, with Jiang Qin around, Jiang Qinkuan and the Supreme Heavens were much more restrained. After arguing for a while, they stopped talking. The group of people in the main hall did not even dare to breathe loudly. After all, who would dare to speak in the face of two extraordinaires of the evil race? Moreover, didn't they hear Jiang Qinkuan's mutterings? Even Zhou Xinglong was chased away by him. In this case, who would dare to say anything more? Why isn't Alan Mayer here yet? At this moment, Jiang Qin frowned. He felt that something was wrong. The governor of Zhou Prefecture was also stunned. He had already sent someone to pick up Nalan Mayer. Logically speaking, she should have arrived by now. However, there was not even a shadow in sight. "I'll go take a look myself." The governor of Zhou Prefecture hurriedly got up. Today's wedding banquet was a small matter. It was more important to make arrangements for Jiang Chun. Otherwise, if Jiang Qinkuan and the Supreme Heavens were angered, the entire Zhou Prefecture would be destroyed. "Your Honor, are you sure you don't want to consider it? The women in my force are all peerlessly beautiful, and their talents are also extremely high. They are virtuous and sensible. Yes, Your Honor, we don't mind if you have multiple wives. After all, that's how powerful cultivators are. Moreover, Your Honor is so handsome and has such cultivation and status at such a young age. It's only right." The patriarchs of the 6 organizations were still persuading at the side. They were wholeheartedly trying to rope in Jiang Chun. "Everyone, you've misunderstood. I'm a person who prefers fate at first sight. I'll only accept women if I like them." Jiang Chun was full of nonsense. How could he accept women from these organizations? At this moment, the governor of Zhou Prefecture walked in with a gloomy expression. When he looked at Jiang Chun, there was a hint of panic and nervousness in his eyes. "What's going on? Where are they?" Jiang Chun said coldly. Something bad had happened. When Senior Zhou Xinglong left, he took Nalan Mayer with him, said the governor of Zhou Prefecture. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said, "This has nothing to do with my Zhou Prefecture. It's not my idea. With 2 powerful figures of the evil race here, my Zhou Prefecture doesn't dare to fool you, Your Holiness." The prefecture chief of Zhou Prefecture was anxious. He never thought that Zhou Xinglong would take Nalan Mayer away. Come to think of it, Zhou Xinglong couldn't defeat Jiang Qinkuan, so he deliberately made things difficult for the Jiang clan. But perhaps he didn't expect that this move of his was very likely to be a disaster for the Zhou clan. She was lost in Zhou Prefecture. As for this matter, you should do as you see fit. Jiang Qin's face was gloomy, and his heart was burning with anger. He knew that this matter really had nothing to do with Zhou Prefecture. After all, Zhou Prefecture didn't dare to joke in front of him. However, Nalan Mayer was indeed lost in Zhou Prefecture. Therefore, Zhou Prefecture had to give an explanation. Zhou Prefecture is a subordinate force of the Zhou Tian Cave. We don't dare to go to the Zhou Tian Cave to ask for Nayland Mayor, said the governor of Zhou Prefecture with a wry smile. He was also quite helpless. If it were an ordinary force, the governor of Zhou Prefecture could bring people there to ask for Nayland Mayor. However, the Zhou Tian Cave was a master-level force, and Zhou Prefecture was a subordinate force of the Zhou Tian Cave. He wouldn't dare to ask the governor of Zhou Prefecture to ask for Nayland Mayor from the Zhou Tian Cave. What are you afraid of? Zhou Xinglong's actions are undoubtedly unfair to Zhou Prefecture. I think Zhou Prefecture should find another force to rely on. Jiang Qingquan raised his eyebrows, then smiled and said, "Why don't you join the Jiang clan?" "Well, what the? Join the Jiang clan? Wouldn't we be eaten up by them?" Many people in Zhou Prefecture were shocked. The Jiang clan wasn't easy to get along with. After all, the Jiang clan was notorious for its brutality. The Zhou Tian Cave has been unkind to you. Why do you have to follow them to death? I think you should listen to Senior Jiang Qingquan and join the Jiang clan. Jiang Chen said, the Jiang clan isn't as difficult to get along with as the rumors say, and they won't eat people up easily. Those rumors are all rumors. They can't be trusted. Yes, they're all rumors. Jiang Zixio nodded and said with a serious expression, "Prefects of Zhou, since the Patriarch of Zhou Prefecture has spoken, does Zhou Prefecture not agree?" As soon as he said this, the hall fell silent. Especially the people of Zhou Prefecture. They didn't dare to say a word. The Jiang clan is easy to get along with? Are you kidding? Just like this. Aren't you forcing me to seek refuge under the Jiang clan? If I join the Jiang clan, Zhou Prefecture will definitely fall out with the Zhou Tian Cave. When that happens, will the Zhou Tian Cave let Zhou Prefecture go? However, if I say no now, how will Jiang Qingquan keep his face? He personally invited Zhou Prefecture to join the Jiang clan. If I shake my head and say no with Jiang Qingquan's personality, Zhou Prefecture will be gone after today. Little brat, what are you thinking about? As long as you can bring her back, the Great Void Race will be on good terms with Zhou Prefecture. When the time comes, our two evil clans will support your Zhou Prefecture. Do you think your Zhou Prefecture will be afraid of the Zhou Tian Cave? Supreme Heavens raised his eyebrows and said, "You'll have to weigh the pros and cons." Previously, the prefects of Zhou was still hesitating. After all, the Jiang clan and the Zhou Tian Cave seemed to be similar in strength and background. It wasn't easy to choose. But now, with the addition of the Great Void Race, then the prefects of Zhou didn't even need to think about it anymore. Seniors, since both of you have said so, from today onwards, Zhou Prefecture will join the Jiang clan and the Great Void Race. The prefects of Zhou said seriously, "The Zhou Tian Cave is heartless to my Zhou Prefecture, so don't blame my Zhou Prefecture for being unjust to them." "That's right, you know it's good for you." Jiang Qingquan smiled and squinted his eyes, looking very proud. "Hey, Zhou Tian Cave, wait until I empty out all your affiliated forces. Then about Nayland Mayor?" The prefect of Zhou Prefecture asked tentatively. Hearing this, Jiang Chen also knew that Zhou Prefecture didn't have the ability to go to the Zhou Tian Cave to ask for her. Helpless, he could only look at Supreme Heavens and Jiang Qingquan. Announce to the world now that Zhou Prefecture will join the Great Void Race and the Jiang clan. As for Nayland Mayor, this old thing, and I will go to the Zhou Tian Cave personally, Jiang Qingquan said in a low voice. "You dare to snatch the woman of our clan's highest consecrator? You really don't give the Great Void Race any face." Supreme Heaven said coldly. Indeed, the Zhou Tian Cave seems to have become a little arrogant these years. In the end, Supreme Heavens and Jiang Qingquan didn't dare to delay any further. The two of them directly tore through the void and set off for the Zhou Tian Cave. Jiang Chen, Jiang Zixio, and the others stayed in Zhou Prefecture. The wedding banquet continued. "You're really something. You can make a name for yourself wherever you go." Luotian stood at the side and secretly transmitted his voice with envy. But before Jiang Chen could speak, he continued, "You should go to the land of purgatory. Jiang Lu and the others are there, and we don't know if they're still alive. Chapter 1168. After the destruction of the six realms, some people were brought to the ancestral land of Buddhism, while others entered the vast thousand domains through the portal opened by the guardians. Now, the matter of the six realms had caused an uproar in the vast thousand domains. After Luoshin and Beta Heike were captured, they heard a lot about the six realms in the Suzuki Valley. Among them were Jianglu and the others. Back then, the group of people who were taken away by the Buddhist emperor entered the ancestral land of Buddhism to cultivate. Of course, that was just to make it sound good. In fact, the Buddhist sect was also studying the invincible bloodline of the creatures in the ancestral land. After so long, the Buddhist sect had traded away many creatures from the six realms, but there were still some people left. These people were all put into the land of Purgatory to train. The land of Purgatory was a famous place of danger in the vast thousand domains. It was indeed a training ground for many geniuses, but it was also notorious for its danger. Only 30 to 40% of those who entered the land of Purgatory could come out alive. According to what Luoshin knew, Jianglu, Wakako, and the others were all put into the land of Purgatory. The Buddhist sect wanted to stimulate their potential and gain insight into the invincible mystery hidden in their bloodline. However, those who entered the land of Purgatory were at least at the king of God's level. Jianglu and the others were only at the king of God's level. With this level of cultivation, they would most likely die in the land of Purgatory. The Buddhist sect, it seems that I've misjudged them. Jiang Qin's expression was ugly. He thought that Jianglu and the others would have a good place to go after entering the ancestral land of Buddhism. But who would have thought? Where is the land of Purgatory? Jiang Qin asked. It's a small world. The top forces will set up a portal that leads directly to the land of Purgatory. Luoshin said, there should be one in Zhou Prefecture too. There's no time to lose. I'll go in and take a look. Jiang Qin said softly. Immediately, Jiang Qin got up, looked at the governor of Zhou Prefecture, and asked, is there a portal in Zhou Prefecture that leads to the land of Purgatory? Send me in. This, Your Excellency, your cultivation level. The prefecture lord of Zhou Prefecture grew anxious. Jiang Qin was but a lesser chief god. If he went in with that level of cultivation, he would most likely be doomed. And what if Jiang Qin died? How were they going to explain to the Jiang clan and the Great Void Race? At that time, if the two evil races were to vent their anger on Zhou Prefecture, then Zhou Prefecture would really be finished. I'm just going in to take a look. Jiang Qin said, don't worry, it's fine. Then, I'll let my eldest son go with you, the chief of Zhou Prefecture said. My eldest son has been to the land of Purgatory several times and is more familiar with it. That works too. Jiang Qin nodded. After that, the chief of Zhou Prefecture summoned his eldest son, Zhou Tsang, and the two of them entered the land of Purgatory through the teleportation portal. The land of Purgatory was an ancient training ground, but a long time ago, it was a place where all kinds of ferocious beasts were imprisoned. Until now, no one was in charge of this place. The ferocious beasts imprisoned here broke free from their cages and took over the land of Purgatory as their own, reproducing here. There were all kinds of ferocious beasts in the land of Purgatory. There were even emperor-level ferocious beasts. It was said that in the deepest part of the land of Purgatory, there were emperor-level ferocious beasts. There were even rumors that there might be a transcendent-level ferocious beast in the land of Purgatory. But these were all rumors. In the eyes of the world today, the land of Purgatory was an excellent training ground. Many top forces would send their disciples in. If they could come out alive, they would train them well. If they died in there, then so be it. It was just survival of the fittest. This place is full of magma. It's a wasteland and there are no plants. The path under your feet may be the back of a ferocious beast, or it may be the corpse of a ferocious beast. Zhou Tsang was very handsome. His features were chiseled, and his sword-like eyebrows were straight. He gave people a very awe-inspiring feeling. At this moment, he stood beside Jiang Qin and introduced the land of Purgatory to him. In short, in the land of Purgatory, one could not let their guard down at any time, especially in the magma It was very likely that a prehistoric ferocious beast was hibernating. The strength of such a ferocious beast was comparable to a top divine king, or even an ultimate god. Recently, I've been more interested in the living beings of the six realms. I heard that many of the living beings brought back by the Buddhists from the six realms were sent here. Jiangchen whispered, "It would be great if we could catch them here." I've also heard about this, but the living beings brought by the Buddhists from the six realms are generally of low cultivation. They have been in the land of purgatory for some time now. I'm afraid. Zhou Tsang frowned. If your honor likes to study the living beings of the six realms, my Zhou prefecture can spend a lot of money to buy some back. Oh, buy? Jiang Qin whispered, and a wisp of anger appeared in his heart. Sure enough, the living beings of the six realms were really nothing in the boundless universe. They were only regarded as goods that were traded here and there. Now, let's search the land of purgatory. After all, if we can catch the living beings of the six realms here, it is equivalent to getting them for free. We don't have to spend money to buy them. Jiang Chun said, his expression incomparably calm. Zhou Tsang nodded and said, "Your honor is right. Right now, the living beings from the six realms are all very expensive. It is indeed very expensive. Your honor, since you want to find the living beings of the six realms, why don't we go to the city of Purgatory first? That is the place where the trial takers gather. Maybe we can get some information about the living beings of the six realms." Zhou Tsang suggested. Jiang Qin nodded, and then under the lead of Zhou Tsang, they flew toward the city of Purgatory. However, just as the two of them got up, several tentacles suddenly stretched out from under the magma under their feet. The tentacles were burning with flames, and there was a foul smell coming from them. At the same time, a wave of divine power that was comparable to that of a high-level divine king erupted. "Your honor, be careful." Zhou Tsang did not dare to be careless and hurriedly warned. At the same time, a long sword appeared in his hand, and 6 sword rays appeared in the air, cutting off all the tentacles. "It's a strangler." "A strangler? Is it very powerful?" Jiang Chen asked. "A single one is not powerful, but stranglers live in groups," Zhou Tsang said solemnly. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw tentacles rushing out from the magma around him like stone pillars. Looking carefully, under every magma, there was a ferocious beast that looked like an octopus. Both of their eyes were emitting a fierce light, and they were staring at Jiang Chun and Zhou Tsang. "There are too many of them. Your honor, let's hurry and retreat," Zhou Tsang said solemnly. Stranglers were also well known in the land of Purgatory. The strength of these ferocious beasts was average, but the key point was that there were too many of them. Most likely, this entire area was filled with stranglers. "Leave? Do you think you can leave so easily in this situation?" Jiang Chun said snappily. Looking at the surroundings, the tentacles were like stone pillars, sealing off the area within a radius of 100 miles. Every tentacle was emitting a cold light, and godly, king-level divine power erupted, turning into a gust of strong wind that suppressed toward Jiang Chun and Zhou Tsang. "Your honor, be careful. I'll bring you out." Zhou Tsang's expression was grave, and cold sweat dripped from his forehead. Chapter 1169. Zhou Tsang was very powerful. There had always been rumors that he had broken through to the level of an ultimate god. However, after he made his move, Jiang Chen realized that Zhou Prefecture's eldest young master's strength was far beyond the rumors. His cultivation level had reached the level of a mid-level ultimate god, but judging from the strength of his attack, he was probably comparable to a high-level ultimate god. At that moment, Jiang Chen stood where he was, watching Zhou Tsang swing his sword and cut off the tentacles one by one, unmoved. This was because Jiang Chun felt that Zhou Tsang's strength was enough to deal with all this. Jiang Chun did not make a move because he had his own reasons. Currently, his status was very high, and he had the support of 2 major evil tribes, but his cultivation level was only that of a lower-level lord level. In the eyes of outsiders, he was quite weak. That was why Jiang Chen planned to continue being weak and try not to make a move as much as possible. However, what surprised Jiang Chen was that after a dozen breaths, just as he was about to break through the cage formed by the tentacles, crimson-red tentacles suddenly emerged from the magma. These tentacles looked as if they were made of flames, and their divine light was very shocking. When each tentacle danced, it could tear the void apart. Moreover, the raging flames fell like a group of stars, and within a few breaths of time, they slapped onto Zhou Tsang's body. After a few muffled sounds, Zhou Tsang's face turned pale as he exclaimed, "Strangler Beast King, Your Majesty, go quickly. I'll cover the rear." Zhou Tsang said in a low voice, "The Strangler Beast King's strength is comparable to a high-level ultimate god. Even a high-level ultimate god is no match for him. What will you do if I leave?" Jiang Chun said softly. After all, Jiang Chun and Zhou Prefecture had a great enmity between them. During the wedding of the eldest young master of Zhou Prefecture, he snatched the bride away and even caused a huge ruckus in Zhou Prefecture. Logically speaking, Zhou Tsang should have a grudge against him. How could he abandon him to help Jiang Chun? That's how the world works. You have a high status. My Zhou Prefecture needs you. If my death can be exchanged for the prosperity of Zhou Prefecture in the future, it's worth it, Zhou Tsang said seriously. Oh, for the sake of the greater good of Zhou Prefecture, what you said is true. Jiang Chen joked, but aren't you afraid that I won't be of any help to Zhou Prefecture after I leave? I've done my duty. The rest is up to the will of the heavens. Up to you, said Zhou Tsang. He pushed out with his palm, as if he wanted to send Jiang Chen out of this place. However, Jiang Chen waved his hand. His eyes were shining. He said in a low voice, "Fine. Since you were so honest, let's go together." What? Zhou Tsang was stunned. Before he could react, he saw a black shadow suddenly appear on Jiang Chen's body. Under the black shadow, he could vaguely see a green lamp flickering. The flickering light seemed to be able to illuminate the past, present, and future. "Let's go!" At that moment, Jiang Chen grabbed Zhou Tsang. The two of them were shrouded by the black shadow as they charged forward. Along the way, Jiang Chen struck out with one hand. Fist after fist seals shattered all the crimson tentacles. In the end, even the Strangler Beast King's true body that rushed out of the magma was slapped back by Jiang Chen's palm. Your strength." Zhou Tsang was shocked. He was clearly a lower-ranked chief god. How could he have such combat strength? One must know that even an ordinary upper-rank supreme god would find it difficult to fight against the Strangler Beast King. "This strength is normal," said Jiang Chen with a chuckle. Speaking of which, ever since he was possessed by the lamp-bearer last time, Jiang Chen had been pondering about some things. Recently, Jiang Chen discovered that although he could not summon the ever-changing heavenly lamp, he had a very close relationship with the lamp-bearer. As long as he thought of the lamp-bearer, he could summon the Black Shadow. Under the support of the Black Shadow, Jiang Chen's combat strength could be said to have multiplied several times. However, the Black Shadow could not be used for long. Moreover, every time he used the Black Shadow, Jiang Chen would feel very weak. In particular, the hunger during that period was unbearable. "I'll rest here for a while. Help me find something to eat." Half an hour later, the two of them rushed out of the magma and arrived at a wasteland. After finding a place and setting up a formation barrier, Jiang Chen's face began to turn pale and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Not only was he weak, but he was also starving. "My lord, are you okay?" Zhou Tsang asked worriedly. One must know that Jiang Chen had entered the land of purgatory with him. If anything happened to Jiang Chen, Zhou Tsang could not bear the responsibility. If that happened, even Zhou Prefecture would be implicated. "I'm fine. I'm just hungry." Jiang Chen waved his hand and said, "Hurry up." "Okay." Zhou Tsang did not dare to be careless. He hurriedly got up and planned to hunt some ferocious beasts for Jiang Chen to fill his stomach. At this moment, Jiang Chen was sitting cross-legged. He was adjusting his breath and observing his Tao souls. The Emperor's vine and the undying bird were still in nirvana and had not awakened. The ever-changing heavenly lamp and the lamp-bearer were together. Both of them were quiet and did not move at all. However, as long as Jiang Chun had a thought in his mind, the lamp-bearer would sense it. Are you my Tao soul, or another living being? Jiang Chun sighed. He really did not understand the ever-changing heavenly lamp. He even suspected that the ever-changing heavenly lamp and the lamp-bearer were one and the same. If not, then where did the lamp-bearer come from? Where's the green lotus? After a few breaths, Jiang Chun glanced at the primal chaos aura, and he was startled. 2 strands of chaotic aura were floating quietly on his soul without any movement. However, the green lotus formed by the other strand of chaotic aura had disappeared. Even the small pool was gone. Jiang Chun panicked. He was most worried that the chaotic aura would mutate. However, Jiang Chun soon found out where the green lotus had gone. If one observed Jiang Chun's soul carefully, one would see a cyan mark on his soul. The imprint was exactly the same as the green lotus. Moreover, there was chaotic aura floating in the depths of Jiang Chun's soul. At the same time, a blurry figure appeared beside Jiang Chun's soul. It was as if it was his second soul. With a thought, the blurry figure actually trembled slightly and fell under his control. This is a second soul? Impossible? Jiang Chun was shocked. He had read about the second soul in the ancient books. It was something that could only be born when one's soul was very strong and cultivated a special cultivation technique. It was like an avatar. However, the second soul was an avatar of the soul. Could the rumors be true? Chaotic green lotus. One chi turning into 3 pure ones? Jiang Chun thought of a legend. However, the blurry figure was very faint. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see it. After Jiang Chun observed for a while, he felt a fluctuation coming from outside the array. Someone was approaching. After hurriedly opening his eyes, Jiang Chun's expression froze. He actually saw an old acquaintance. Chapter 1170. Outside the array barrier, a black-clothed youth was rushing over, covered in blood. Behind him was a large group of young people. Their cultivation was very high, and the lowest was a high-level divine king. The black-clothed youth did not seem to notice the array barrier here. At this moment, there was a trace of anger in his eyes. He was seriously injured and running for his life. Coming quickly, Jiang Chun transmitted his voice and opened a corner of the array. A burst of divine power burst out and directly pulled the black-clothed youth in. Jiang Chun? The black-clothed youth exclaimed. He thought that he had been intercepted halfway. TSK. How did the holy son of the court of the night, Mu Xingyun, end up like this? When I saw you in Tongtian Garden, you weren't like this. Jiang Chun teased. When Mu Xingyun heard this, his face darkened, and he was furious. After coming to the Great Thousand World, he had done well. He had become a disciple of the court of the night and was highly regarded. Now, he was already the holy son of the court of the night. Previously, they had also met in Tongtian Garden. However, they did not expect that when they met again, Mu Xingyun was seriously injured and was being chased by a group of people. The court of the night's reputation is not good. People like me are basically like rats crossing the street. Mu Xingyun said snappily, I haven't done anything in the Great Thousand World yet. Just because I became the holy son of the court of the night, I was chased all day long. What bad luck! Hey, you're living a good life now. Jiang Chun curled his lips and said, Zhang Lu and the others were taken away by the Buddhist arch. Now, they're not living a good life. I heard about it too. Mu Xingyun nodded and said, Are you here to look for them? Nonsense, why else would I come in? Jiang Chun said. Hearing this, Mu Xingyun shook his head and said, I also heard some things in Purgatory City. Zhang Lu and the others were taken away by a mysterious force. Only Wakako's whereabouts are unknown. Perhaps he is dead, or perhaps he is still in Purgatory. Oh, which faction? Jiang Chun asked. Mu Xingyun shook his head. He only told Jiang Chun that the faction was very mysterious and very powerful. They dared to openly rob the people of the ancestral land of Buddhism. Boom! Right at this moment, a series of explosions came from outside the formation. Obviously, the people who were pursuing Mu Xingyan had discovered this place. Moreover, Mu Xingyan had been fleeing all the way here, so he didn't have time to hide his aura and bloodstains. It was normal for him to be found. Brat from the Court of the Night, you're dead meat today. The Court of the Night has wreaked havoc in the Great Thousand World. Killing you is to rid the Great Thousand World of evil. Outside the formation, there were many people, all of them speaking righteously and constantly bombarding the formation. I'm afraid this formation won't last long. Jiangchen smiled bitterly and said, the cultivation of this group of people outside is a bit high. Nonsense. If they were weak, would I have to run for my life? Mu Xingyun's face darkened. As he spoke, he spat out another mouthful of blood. His injuries were extremely serious. Isn't it good to stay in Tongtian Garden and cultivate? Why did you come to Purgatory? Jiangchen asked, not worried at all about whether the formation and boundary would be destroyed. Mu Xingyan didn't know Jiangchen. Seeing that Jiangchen was so calm, he simply sat down and said lightly, I came to see the world. Many geniuses from the Great Thousand World have gathered here, and I wanted to fight with them. In the end, you were beaten to the point of running for your life? Jiangchen ridiculed. Bullsh ***. There were 3 to 5 divine kings and 2 divine masters. With this lineup, you would still be beaten to the point of running for your life. Mu Xingyun said in a deep voice. Jiangchen chuckled and didn't say much. After all, with his current strength, if he faced so many experts at once, he would indeed have to run away. However, thinking about the time, Zhou should be back soon, right? What are you doing? Get lost. Just as Jiangchen had thought, before the formation and boundary shattered, Zhou Tsang's voice came from outside. Then, there were a few quarrels outside, and then the fluctuations of a battle erupted. After another half an incense stick of time, Zhou Tsang's voice sounded outside. Your Excellency, they've left. They even brought bodyguards? Mu Xingyan squinted and said, not bad. They're doing better and better. They're just SSO. Jiangchen chuckled. Then, Jiangchen opened the formation and boundary and saw Zhou Tsang sitting on the ground with blood all over his body. His aura was dispirited, and it was obvious that he was seriously injured. Are you okay? Jiangchen asked. I'm fine. If I hadn't used the name of Zhou Prefecture at the end, I'm afraid I would have been killed by them. Zhou Tsang said and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he placed some dire beast corpses in front of Jiangchen and said respectfully, Your Excellency, please fill your stomach first. Be careful, Jiangchen said and immediately used his divine power as the fire to start cooking. After half an incense stick of time, Jiangchen was full. At the same time, Mu Xingyun and Zhou Tsang's injuries also recovered a little. At the very least, they were able to walk. Let's go and inquire about the situation in Purgatory City. Jiangchen stood up and looked at Mu Xingyun with ridicule and asked, Are you okay? If it's a one-on-one fight, I can suppress those bastards with one hand. Mu Xingyun's complexion was very unsightly. He stood up and patted the dust off his body, wiped the blood stains on his face, and asked, You want to inquire about Wakako? What else can I do? Everyone else has been taken away, and only Wakako is left. Jiangchen said softly, and a trace of cold light flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, If anything happens to them, then I'm afraid there's no need for this Buddhist ancestral land to exist in the future. Then, the 3 of them stood up and flew towards Purgatory City. Along the way, the 3 of them flew across the sky and overlooked the land of Purgatory. Below them, there was lava everywhere, and there were also wastelands. Using their divine consciousness, they observed that there were ferocious beasts everywhere in the land of Purgatory. Even though some of the ferocious beasts were hibernating, the aura that they overflowed was very strong, comparable to that of an emperor god. This place was originally used to imprison these ferocious beasts, but it was abandoned later on. The ferocious beasts here also escaped, and it became what it is today. Zhou Tsang explained, We're going to Purgatory City. Although it's now a place where the trial takers gather to rest, a long time ago, it was a prison. I've also heard about this. It's said that during the earliest period of the land of Purgatory, the largest prison in the land of Purgatory was the city of Purgatory. There was an ancient ferocious beast imprisoned in it, Mu Xingyan said in a low voice. However, now that the city of Purgatory was occupied by the trial takers, the ancient ferocious beast that was imprisoned in the city of Purgatory had most likely escaped. There are so many ferocious beasts in the land of Purgatory. Why don't they attack the city of Purgatory? Jiangchen asked doubtfully. Since the city of Purgatory is a place where the trial takers gather, there are, of course, some experts guarding it, Zhou Cang explained. As far as I know, there are 3 emperors guarding the city of Purgatory. It seems that there's also one extraordinaire. Chapter 1171. Half a day later, in the city of Purgatory, there were many people in the city of Purgatory. There were all kinds of living beings from different races, including some rare races. These living beings all had one thing in common. They all had a tinge of arrogance. After all, those who dared to enter the land of Purgatory to train were all outstanding talents. How could they admit that they were weaker than others? Even if their cultivation was slightly weaker, they would still stand straight without any cowardice. Moreover, in the depths of these people's eyes, there was a tinge of determination. Many people who entered the land of Purgatory knew that it was extremely dangerous. However, if they could get out alive, they would definitely be appreciated by the upper echelons of the forces. At that time, they would be able to achieve meteoric success. However, the prerequisite was that they had to get out alive. Therefore, although many people were proud and arrogant after entering, they were also prepared to die. This place is really old, Jiangchen said softly. The city of Purgatory was not big. There were a total of 2 streets that ran through the east, west, north, and south. Beside the 2 streets, there were many small houses made of bronze. Upon closer inspection, there were traces of runes that had been obliterated inside and outside the walls of these small houses. These small houses had been cages a long time ago, imprisoning ferocious beasts. However, the land of Purgatory had been abandoned for a long time. The ferocious beasts that were imprisoned here had either died of exhaustion or struggled to break free. Now, these small bronze houses had become temporary residences for the participants of the training. However, not everyone could stay in these small bronze houses. There were rules in the city of Purgatory as well. Those who entered the small bronze houses could not be attacked by others. It was equivalent to a golden ticket to avoid death. Only those who could afford the price could stay in them. What are those people doing? Why are they all surrounding that small house? Along the way, Jiangchen saw a few small houses that were empty. However, there were also a few small houses that were surrounded by living beings. They must be trapped in the small house. Zhou Cang said, once you enter the small bronze house, others cannot attack you. However, if you walk out of the small house, your life or death is up to fate. Oh, I see. Jiangchen was relieved. Looking at the bronze hut that was completely blocked with no one inside or outside, he thought to himself that the people in the hut were really pitiful to be blocked by so many people. If he didn't have the support of an expert, he would never be able to leave this place, right? Are you looking for information about Wakako? You can ask around anytime and anywhere, Mu Xingyan said. However, before that, Mu Xingyan planned to get a bronze hut to stay in. After all, he was now the holy son of the Court of the Night, and his status was very special. He was like a rat that everyone wanted to beat up. It was not safe for him to be here. Just go to the city lord's mansion and buy it, Zhou Cang said, but it's quite expensive. 10 source crystal for 1 day. Mu Xingyan also knew the rules here. He smiled bitterly and said, if you don't have the source crystal, you'll have to use treasures of equal value to exchange for it. I have plenty of treasures. The 2 of you have not recovered from your injuries, so you should hide in the bronze hut for a while, Jiangchen said. Then, the 3 of them quickly arrived in front of the city lord's mansion. The so-called city lord's mansion was just a slightly bigger bronze hut. However, The living beings in the bronze hut were at the emperor level. Moreover, there were 3 of them. The 3 emperors came from different factions. Now that they were in charge of the city of Purgatory, they collected rental fees and earned a lot of money for their factions. Only the most powerful forces can collect rental fees here, said Qin Wentian. Zhou said, every 10 days, 3 people will be changed. Everyone comes from a different faction, and they will take shifts. Isn't this a great deal? Jiang Qin's eyes shone with greed. Although he was very rich now, he still cared about money. Senior, I want a bronze hut. At that moment, Mu Xingyin took out the source crystal, the hard currency of the great thousand world. After handing it to one of the emperors, he received a token. With this token, he could choose any bronze hut to stay in. I don't have much source crystal with me. The 3 of us can squeeze in, Mu Xingyin said awkwardly. It's okay. Jiang Chun did not mind. The bronze hut was not big, but it was not small either. It was big enough for 3 people to stay in. Soon, the 3 of them casually chose a bronze hut near the city lord's mansion and entered it. How do I find out about Wakako? Jiang Chen asked. Very simple. Write down what you want to know on a piece of paper and hang it at the door of the bronze hut. If someone knows about it, they will tell you at the door. If they tell you, you have to pay them a source crystal, Mu Xingyin explained. With that, Mu Xingyin took out 3 source crystals and said awkwardly, I only have 3 left. Use them sparingly. I need to heal myself first. Okay, take your time to heal yourself, Jiang Chen said softly. Then, he found a stone slab and wrote down Wakako's whereabouts. He hung it outside the bronze hut. What if the information provided by the other party is not accurate? Jiang Chen suddenly asked. There's no other way. Even if the other party is lying to you, as long as they say it, you have to give them the source crystal. This is the rule. Zhou said. However, the people who come here are not ordinary people. Under normal circumstances, no one will lie for a source crystal. That's true. Jiang Chen nodded. With that, Jiang Chen suddenly thought of something and asked, is the source crystal very valuable? Nonsense. Source crystal is formed by the condensation of divine power. It can be directly absorbed and is the hard currency of the vast thousand domains. A source crystal is equivalent to a top-grade heavenly treasure. Mu Xingyin said snappily. Do you think source crystals are cabbages? Oh, I know. Jiang Chen muttered. Then, Jiang Chen did not disturb Mu Xingyin and Zhou Cang. He sat quietly in the bronze hut. Half a day later, Jiang Chen sensed that someone was standing outside the bronze hut. After a few breaths, he heard the person outside say, Are you looking for Wakako from the 6 realms? I saw him a few days ago in the east of the land of Purgatory, near the magma of the vast sea. Thank you. Jiang Chen heard this and sat behind the door of the bronze hut. He thanked the person very politely. After a few breaths, the person outside the hut spoke again. He was slightly puzzled and asked, Where is the source crystal? Ah, why should I give you the source crystal? Jiang Chen asked in return. Once he said this, the person outside the hut could not help but fall silent. He thought to himself that he was unlucky. Could it be that he had met a newbie? However, anyone who entered this place was not ordinary. The person was too lazy to argue with Jiang Chen. He snorted a few times and left. Jiang Chen was full of smiles. He thought to himself that he was a good housekeeper. He had saved a source crystal. Chapter 1172. Zhou Cang and Mu Xingyin had already entered a meditative state. They didn't know what was going on outside, and they didn't know that Jiang Chen was actually so stingy. Jiang Chen felt good about himself, and he didn't even take the sign outside the door. This was because he knew that some people's words couldn't be trusted. Only by asking a few more people could he confirm Wakako's current whereabouts. After about 10 breaths, another person came in from outside the door and said something about Wakako. This time, Jiang Chen still played dumb and didn't give him the source crystal. The other person didn't say anything, but just cursed and left. Just like that, Jiang Chen sat in the room, and people kept coming to tell him about Wakako. Jiang Chen kept playing dumb until a day later. and he still didn't give out a single source crystal. Basically, they all said that they saw Wakako in the east of the land of purgatory, Jiangchen said softly. After a day, he found out more about Wakako's whereabouts. However, Jiangchen still felt that it wasn't reliable, and he prepared to ask a few more people. However, on the second day, no one came to tell him about Wakako anymore. Jiangchen even noticed that there seemed to be a lot of people standing outside the room. What's going on? Jiangchen was stunned. Coincidentally, Zhou Tsang and Mu Xingyun had recovered from their injuries. The moment the two of them woke up, their expressions changed. They also noticed that there were a lot of people standing outside the bronze room. We aren't surrounded, are we? Mu Xingyun asked in a daze. His face was full of confusion. Zhou Tsang was also confused. He looked at Jiangchen and asked, Your Honor, did you get into trouble? No, I didn't leave even a step, Jiangchen said. Oh, Zhou Tsang frowned. He felt that there was something wrong with the group of people outside. At this moment, someone outside the door said, I saw Wakako from the Six Realms a few days ago near the magma of the Immensity Sea in the east. Thank you very much, Jiangchen expressed his gratitude. When Mu Xingyun and Zhou Tsang saw this, they blinked their eyes in confusion. In the end, it was Zhou Tsang who reacted. He hurriedly took out a source crystal and handed it to Jiangchen. Your Honor, have you used up all the source crystals? I have some more here. You can use them. Hearing this, Jiangchen's face turned slightly red. He took out the few source crystal that Mu Xingyun had given him and said, I didn't use a single one. You. Mu Xingyun opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. Zhou Tsang's expression was also quite strange. They suddenly understood what was going on with the group of people outside the house. The kid inside. The rumors are true. You're asking for information here. Give us the source crystal. Do you really think we're fools? It's fine if you lied to 1 or 2 people, but in just one day, you've lied to more than 10 people. You're really something. Hurry up and come out. I want to have a good chat with you. I want to show you why there's still red in this world. At this moment, many people outside the house directly blurted out, and some of them even had the intention to kill. I say, with your identity, do you really need this little source crystal? Do you need to be so stingy? Mu Xingyun said angrily. Look, we're being blocked. Your Honor, why don't I go out and give them the source crystal? Zhou Tsang said. Hearing this, Jiangchen also felt awkward. He didn't expect that this group of people would actually block his door for a piece of source crystal. Of course, Jiangchen didn't expect that he would play dumb for a piece of source crystal. In short, it was all because of one thing. That, if you have enough source crystal, go out and get it. Jiangchen sighed. He thought that he was a good housekeeper, but he didn't expect that he still had to give. However, after Zhou Tsang went out, he ran back in less than 10 breaths. Your Honor, there are at least 20 people outside. Zhou Tsang smiled bitterly and said, I don't have that many source crystal on me. You told them that you wanted to replenish the source crystal, right? Once you say that, there will definitely be many people coming over to impersonate you. Mu Xingyun said in a low voice now. I estimate that there are no less than 30 people outside. What should we do? Jiangchen's face darkened. Are we going to be blocked here? You still have the face to ask. If you weren't so stingy, this wouldn't have happened. Mu Xingyun said angrily. However, just as Mu Xingyun finished speaking, someone outside the house shouted angrily, Holy Son of the Court of the Night, Mu Xingyun, I know you're inside. If you have the guts, don't come out for the rest of your life. Mu Xingyun, if you dare to come out, we will kill you. Hearing this, Jiangchen couldn't help but laugh. You still dare to say that? Some of the people outside are here for you, right? Jiangchen joked. I'm so unlucky. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have become the Holy Son of the Court of the Night. Mu Xingyun cursed. On the other hand, Zhou Tsang's face darkened. He couldn't voice out his grievances. Whether it was the source crystal or the Court of the Night, they had nothing to do with him. Now, they were all living in the same house. Even if he went out to explain, no one would believe him. Moreover, as the eldest son of Zhou Prefecture, if he was seen with the Holy Son of the Court of the Night, people would most likely misunderstand the relationship between Zhou Prefecture and the Court of the Night. By then, it would definitely cause a lot of trouble for Zhou Prefecture. However, when Zhou Tsang saw Jiang Qin's calm expression, he couldn't help but feel more at ease. With such a big boss around, what was there to be afraid of? Zhou Tsang, go outside again and tell them my identity. I'd like to see who dares to block my door. Jiang Qin's expression became serious. It was time to reveal his identity. Zhou Tsang heard this and immediately stood up. He said respectfully, "Yes, Supreme One." However, this time, not long after Zhou Tsang went out, there were a few explosions outside. Then, Zhou Tsang was seen flying in. Even the door of the bronze house was smashed. At this moment, Jiang Qin and the other two appeared in front of everyone. Zhou Tsang, as the eldest son of Zhou Prefecture, you actually colluded with the holy son of the Court of the Night. Aren't you afraid of tarnishing the reputation of Zhou Prefecture? You even fooled around with the Jiang clan and the Great Void Race. Zhou Tsang, you're really depraved. At this moment, there were all kinds of curses outside the house, and most of them were cursing Zhou Tsang's name. Zhou Tsang looked innocent. He only went to convey Jiang Qin's message. He didn't expect that this group of people outside didn't give any face to the Jiang clan and the Great Void Race. However, it made sense when he thought about it carefully. This was a trial ground, and everyone who came here was prepared to die. What else could they be afraid of? Zhou Tsang, even if what you said is true, so what? Our race doesn't have a good relationship with the evil race. Don't think of using the name of the evil race to intimidate us. At this moment, Jiang Qin was dumbfounded. He thought to himself that the names of the two great evil races didn't work here. Chapter 1173. As geniuses, they were naturally proud and arrogant. How could they submit to anyone? Moreover, Jiang Qin had tricked this group of people into providing him with information about Wakako. As such, this group of geniuses was naturally unwilling to give up. However, the Great Void Race and the Jiang clan's reputation still had some use. At this moment, 5 or 6 people had already left. It was obvious that they did not want to provoke Jiang Qin. However, the group of people who remained were all arrogant people. How could they retreat? However, there were also people who said that they only wanted Mu Xingyun's life. As for what Jiang Qin had done previously, they could not be bothered to care about it. After all, a piece of source crystal was actually nothing to them. It was just that they had been tricked by Jiang Qin previously, and they were still angry. In comparison, the Holy Son of the Court of the Night was much more conspicuous than Jiang Qin. The Court of the Night's reputation in the vast thousand world was already extremely bad. It could even be said that it was notorious. Even the evil race's reputation was not as bad as the Court of the Night's. And the Court of the Night had too many enemies. Many forces hated the Court of the Night to the core. Now that they had encountered the Holy Son of the Court of the Night, how could they not kill him? Your Excellency, why don't we? Zhou Tsang said tentatively. We just met him. There's no need to start a war with this group of geniuses for him. Zhou Tsang's words were not wrong, but that was what he thought. He did not know that Jiang Qin and Mu Xingyun had known each other for a long time. Although the two of them had always been enemies, both of them had their own bottom lines. How could Jiang Qin not care about Mu Xingyun? Everyone, it's my fault for deceiving you previously. At this moment, Jiang Qin stood up and said softly, Today, can you let him go on account of the Jiang clan and the Great Void Race? Kid, what are you talking about? This is the land of purgatory. The names of the Great Void Race and the Jiang clan are useless here. Those who enter the land of purgatory have their heads on their belts. Do you think that you can make us retreat with just a few words? Are you dreaming? I think you still don't understand the situation. Many people rebuked angrily, not willing to back down in the slightest, nor were they willing to give him face. In response, Jiang Qin chuckled. He had expected this to happen. At this moment, Jiang Qin became silent, and he stood in the bronze house, squinting his eyes, while wisps of divine power surged out of his body. He didn't say anything and just stood there quietly. Why don't you guys leave? I'll hide here for a while. The court of the night won't ignore me. Mu Xingyun said, as long as I'm in the bronze house, they won't dare to do anything to me. You'd better hurry and find Wakako. It's fine if I'm blocked by the older generation, but now I'm blocked by a group of people of the same generation. Do you think I'll accept this? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows, waved his hand, and said, leave the rest to me. You don't tell me you're? Mu Xingyun's expression froze. He had known Jiang Chen for a long time and knew what kind of person Jiang Chen was. At this moment, since Jiang Chen had said so, he must have been confident. As for why he was so confident, based on Mu Xingyun's understanding of Jiang Chen, he knew that the group of people outside the bronze house would be tricked by Jiang Chen. I can't wait. Let's see how long you can hide in the bronze house. Humph! I'll kill you as soon as you step out of the bronze house. Outside, the remaining group of people did not leave. They just blocked the way. At the same time, the commotion here also attracted many people. The holy son of the court of the night. That seems to be the eldest son of the Eastern Star region, Zhou Prefecture, right? More and more people came to watch the show. At the same time, the identities of Jiang Chen and the rest were also dug out, especially Jiang Chen. When everyone found out that he was not only the highest consecrator of the Great Void race, but also the representative of the Jiang clan, many people secretly transmitted their voices, willing to help Jiang Chen. After all, not everyone was fearless of the two evil races. Even more people were willing to build a good relationship with the two evil races and climb up this big tree. To this, Jiang Chen did not respond, rejecting with silence. And time also passed slowly, until one day later. On this day, Zhou Tsang and Mu Xingyun stood behind Jiang Chen without saying a word. Jiang Chen was also silent for a day, but the divine power in his body kept surging. Until the next night. At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. He looked at the group of people outside the bronze house and said coldly, I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to move or not? We're standing right here. If the three of you dare to come out, we'll kill you without mercy. Many people sneered. There were more than 20 of them, and each of them had extraordinary combat power. They blocked the bronze house, not wanting to give Jiang Chen and the rest a way out. Jiang Chen heard them and sneered. A trace of contempt flashed in his eyes. He said, Do you think the three of us are prey? You don't know that the real prey is yourselves. Buzz! The moment he said that, with the bronze house that Jiang Chen was in as the center, a series of booming sounds could be heard. Then, formation runes appeared out of thin air, and a boundary Dharma seal fell. As expected, you're getting more and more skilled in formations. Mu Xingyun was not surprised at all. He knew that Jiang Chen would not stand there quietly for the entire day. He also guessed that Jiang Chen had most likely been secretly setting up a formation for the entire day. With Jiang Chen's attainment in formations, if he was given enough time to set up a formation, then ordinary people would not be able to stop him. Oh, interesting. He actually set up a formation secretly. A young man said softly with a trace of contempt at the corner of his mouth. He said, But what's the use of your formation? We have more people, and our cultivation is much higher than yours. We can totally break the formation by force. In the face of absolute power, what's a formation? Many people looked at Jiang Chen with contempt. They did not care about his formation at all. Maybe you have some misunderstanding about formations, Jiang Chen said softly. With a wave of his hand, the void where the group of young men were standing suddenly shattered. A few of them could not dodge in time. Their physical bodies and souls exploded like the void and were cut into several pieces. Then, they disappeared without a trace. Space-splitting formation? How could such a formation be so powerful? Many people exclaimed. The space-splitting formation was the lowest level formation among all the space formations. This kind of formation was usually used to build a teleportation formation. It did not have much destructive power. But now, everyone realized that the space-splitting formation that rose up here was very complicated. Moreover, it was mixed with boundaries and restrictions. Its power could not be measured by the eyes of ordinary people. After all, it's the lowest level space-splitting formation. If we attack together, we can break it by force. It's just a formation. How can it deal with us? What a joke. However, after everyone made a move together, the expressions of the group of people instantly changed. Chapter 1174. Everyone attacked, and the seals fell like stars with great power. The entire city of Purgatory could see that this part of the sky was filled with seals. However, after these seals fell within the range of the space-splitting formation, they actually disappeared directly. No, to be precise, they were teleported to another place by the space-splitting formation. This formation is not right. What's going on? Is this formation still considered a space-splitting formation? The crowd exclaimed in surprise. Their attacks had been transmitted away. They couldn't hurt Jiangchen at all, let alone crack the formation by force. Within the space-splitting formation, the void kept cracking and crumbling around everyone. The power after the void exploded was extremely terrifying and had already killed 6 youths. Kid, you're just a lower-ranked chief god. How long can you maintain this formation? Stop now, and we can still spare you. A few youths rebuked angrily, their expressions extremely gloomy. They were a little flustered and did not know how to break the formation. It's you guys who haven't recognized the situation, right? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and said mockingly, "Now, the ones who should be begging for mercy are you guys. Everyone has the right to kill the people from the court of the night. You have such a deep relationship with the 2 great evil races. Now that you're helping the holy son of the court of the night, aren't you afraid of implicating the 2 great evil races?" Jiangchen sneered when he heard that. He had heard many of these threats, but he had never cared about them. To be precise, the 2 great evil races behind him would not care. Jiangchen was very clear about the way the Jiang clan and the Great Void race did things. How could the 2 great evil races with extraordinaries be threatened by others? Today, it was fortunate that the 2 great evil races were not present. If they were, they would probably be furious and would have started a massacre long ago. Don't kill them all. There are a few people here with extraordinary backgrounds, and they have extraordinary level forces behind them, Zhou Tsang muttered softly, as a kind reminder to Jiangchen. However, Jiangchen did not care at all. So, what if they were extraordinary level forces? The 2 evil races behind him, which one of them was not an extraordinary level force? Those who kill will always be killed. Sometimes the principles of the world are just that simple. Jiangchen murmured. Then, he waved his hand through the void, causing the space-splitting formation to explode. In an instant, cracks in the void erupted, sucking the youths into them. One could hear the sounds of explosions and screams of agony. Blood sprayed out from the void, but no one rushed out from the void. Everyone who was caught up in it died. He really dared to kill. There were so many people, and there were quite a few of them from prestigious clans. There were also a few from extraordinary forces, but he killed them all in one go. Is he really not afraid of bringing trouble to himself and the forces behind him? The surrounding onlookers exclaimed repeatedly. No one had expected that Jiangchen would actually be so decisive, directly killing this group of people. At the same time, some people were also shocked. A low-level formation set up by Jiangchen could actually be so powerful. His attainments in formations were far beyond his peers. Even those of the older generation could not compare to Jiangchen's attainments in formations. All right, it's all settled. At this moment, Jiangchen murmured. Then he took out a source crystal and said, "Whoever can take me to the immensity magma sea, this source crystal is yours." Fellow cultivator, are you going to look for Wakako from the 6 realms? Someone asked with a strange expression. That was because Jiangchen looked too calm. He had just killed so many people. Was he really not worried at all? Yes, I want to capture him and study him, Jiangchen said. I'm afraid it's too late. I heard that Wakako was captured by the people of the Zhou Tian cave. The person said, "Just yesterday, someone saw with their own eyes that Wakako was suppressed by several disciples of the Zhou Tian cave and then taken away." The Zhou Tian cave? The Zhou Tian cave again? Jiang Qin's face darkened. He thought to himself, what's going on recently? Why are they fighting with the Zhou Tian cave? First, they captured Nalanmayer, and now Wakako. Your Honor, Zhou Prefecture has nothing to do with the Zhou Tian cave anymore, Zhou Tsang hurriedly explained, afraid that Jiang Qin would be angry. I know. Jiang Qin nodded. He frowned slightly and said softly, the hard currency in the boundless world is the source crystal, right? Yes, it's a hard currency. It can be exchanged for anything. As long as there's enough source crystal, even emperor-level weapons and even extraordinaires can be hired. Zhou Tsang nodded. Hearing this, Jiang Chun took out a lot of rare treasures without saying anything. He looked at the people around him and said, everyone, although I don't have much source crystal, I have these rare treasures. Whoever can provide me with the whereabouts of the disciples of the Zhou Tian cave can choose one. If you can capture them and bring them to me, I'll give you 10. If you don't like these rare treasures, I can also find a way to exchange them for source crystal, Jiang Qin said. As soon as he said this, the people around him were a little confused. Why did he want to capture the people of the Zhou Tian cave? However, anyone who entered the land of purgatory was not a good person. They came here to risk their lives for their future, and the future of a cultivator was nothing more than cultivation resources. If they had enough source crystal, they could buy enough cultivation resources and even cultivation methods and divine skills. Even if they spent enough source crystal, they could enter an extraordinary level force through the back door. As long as they could become stronger, they could do anything. Bang! Suddenly, everyone heard a muffled sound. They turned around and saw that the young man who had spoken just now had attacked another person and directly suppressed him. Then, he threw the young man in front of Jiang Chun and said with a smile, "This is the disciple of the Zhou Tian cave. How can you be sure?" Jiang Chun frowned. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chun saw that there was indeed a token engraved with the word Zhou Tian on the young man's waist. He is indeed a disciple of the Zhou Tian cave. He has an identity token, Zhou Tsang said. Okay, you can pick 10 heavenly materials and divine treasures, Jiang Chun said to the young man. Then, he brought the disciple of the Zhou Tian cave to his side. After applying layers of seals, he threw the disciple to his feet. Do you have a grudge against the Zhou Tian cave? The young man from the Zhou Tian cave was confused. He had no idea what was going on. Not a big grudge, but not a small one either, Jiang Chun said softly. He patted the young man's head and said, don't worry. As long as the Zhou Tian cave is willing to cooperate, I won't kill you. Are you really not afraid of offending the Zhou Tian cave? The young man was shocked. After all, the Zhou Tian cave was an extraordinary level force. In this world, how many people dared to offend the Zhou Tian cave? Not to mention placing a bounty on the disciple of the Zhou Tian cave in front of so many people. Chapter 1175. Placing a bounty on the disciples of the Zhou Tian cave was something that had not happened for a long time. After all, the Zhou Tian cave was an extraordinary level force. Under normal circumstances, no one was willing to provoke them. However, any creature that entered the land of purgatory was extremely bold. Ordinary people could not compare to them. This group of people were all risking their lives for their future. Bounty? The Zhou Tian cave? Don't talk about empty promises. As long as you have the money, you can do anything in the land of purgatory? Do you dare to do anything? Fellow cultivator, may I ask, what do you want to do with the disciples of the Zhou Tian cave? Someone asked curiously. Of course, I want to exchange them with the Zhou Tian cave, Jiang Chun said softly. A disciple of the Zhou Tian cave in exchange for a creature from the 6 realms. If one is not enough, then I'll take a few more. Oh, everyone was relieved. So that was what Jiang Chun was planning. However, Someone reminded Jiang Chun that even if he captured a large number of disciples of the Zhou cave to exchange, the Zhou cave would not necessarily exchange them. After all, the value was different. Unless he captured a disciple of the Zhou cave who was at the level of a saint, the Zhou cave would generally not care about them. What a coincidence. Fellow cultivator, as long as you give me the right price, I'll take you to find someone. If you can capture him, the Zhou cave will probably exchange them with you. At that moment, a creature covered in golden hair walked over with a rough stone stick in his hand. He looked casual, but his eyes were shining with golden light. The ancient divine monkey clan. Back then, this race had a war with the heavenly cycle cave abode. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. If it weren't for a few extraordinaires stepping in and stopping the war, the ancient divine monkeys and the heavenly cycle cave abode would be the only force left in the great thousand world. This clan is not to be trifled with. Many people let out a few soft cries and even revealed the origin of this living being. As long as you can bring me to that person, the price I offer will definitely satisfy you, Jiang Chun said seriously. Although Jiang Chun was still stingy, the wealth in his hands now was not something an ordinary person could compare to. In Jiang Chun's eyes, anything that could be solved with money was not a problem at all. How about this? I'll pack it up for you. Not only will I take you to find that person, but I'll also help you suppress him. When the time comes, you'll give me 100 rare treasures. What do you think? The young man from the ancient divine monkey clan waved the stone stick in his hand and said, "That person is not someone you can deal with." "Oh, is that so?" Jiang Chun raised his eyebrows, thought for a moment, and said, "Take me to him first. If I can't deal with him, I'll ask you to help me. Okay?" "All right." The young man agreed without hesitation. He then pointed to the east of the city of Purgatory and said, "Come, it's over there. Let's go and block his door." "Ugh, what the F***, CK? In the city of Purgatory?" Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment. He had never thought that this young man was also a scammer. "Monkey, don't tell me you want to bring him to Zhou Cave Zhou?" Someone suddenly asked with a strange expression. When the group of people around heard the name Zhou, their expressions also became strange. It was because Zhou was too famous in the city of Purgatory. Not only in the city of Purgatory, but everyone who entered the land of Purgatory knew about Zhou. "I know this person. He's the substitute holy son of the Zhou cave," Zhou Tsang said. "His cultivation has reached the divine, venerable realm a long time ago. Now that so many years have passed, his cultivation should have improved a lot." "Divine, venerable realm?" Jiang Chun said softly. He then waved his hand indifferently and said, "It's all right. If I'm serious, it shouldn't be a problem." "Heh, human kid, you're quite arrogant." The young man from the ancient divine monkey clan joked. "Don't ask me for help when the time comes." "I don't think so." Jiang Chun smiled. Then, under the guidance of the young man from the ancient divine monkey clan, Jiang Chun and his group came to a bronze house on the east street of the city of Purgatory. Zhou is in this bronze house. He went out of the city to train some time ago and seems to be injured. The monkey said, "But even if he's injured, he's still not someone you can handle." "Heh." Jiang Chun chuckled and said, "Whether I can handle him or not is one thing. The key now is, when will he come out?" There was a rule in the city of Purgatory. As long as a person was in the bronze house, no one could attack him. Now, Jiang Chun could only attack when Zhou walked out of the bronze house by himself. "Scold him a few times and he'll come out." The monkey smiled and scratched his head. "Okay, I'll help you call him out." Then, the monkey held the stone stick in one hand and cleared his throat. Then he scolded Zhou and even announced his identity. Zhou Cave and the ancient divine monkey clan had a feud. When he heard the monkey's scolding, Zhou couldn't stand it. Then, the door of the bronze house was opened and a young man in a green robe walked out of the bronze house. His face was gloomy and his eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at the monkey. However, before he could speak or attack, Jiangchen directly used the power of the lamp bearer. Like a black shadow, he dashed in front of Zhou Xuandao in an instant. But Zhou Xuandao reacted quickly. When he saw the black shadow dashing toward him, he quickly moved to the side. At the same time, he formed a seal with his hands, and a dark light shot toward Jiangchen like a weapon. You have a fast reaction. Looks like you've been through a lot of battles. Jiangchen said softly. He formed a fist with his hands and threw out a punch. Boom! After a few explosions, the dark light was shattered by the fist radiance. At the same time, Jiangchen stepped out and dashed in front of Zhou Xuandao again. Who's that? Zhou Xuandao shouted angrily. When he opened his eyes, a ray of light filled with Dao fragments shot out from his eyes. Jiangchen was fearless. He waved his hand, and a dragon shadow appeared behind him. Roar! Along with the dragon's roar, the dragon shadow drowned the ray of light directly. But in an instant, the ray of light expanded and shattered Jiangchen's dragon shadow. At this moment, Jiangchen was shocked. He formed a fist with his left hand, and a dragon shadow appeared. Then, he formed a palm with his right hand, and a tiger shadow appeared. He threw out a punch with the dragon and tiger shadows. The roar was accompanied by surging divine power, and it bombarded the ray of light. Boom! However, the ray of light that was covered by the Dao fragments was very powerful. It shattered Jiangchen's fist and palm once again. At the same time, the ray of light did not slow down and went straight toward Jiangchen's face. Hey, you can't defeat him. Do you want me to help you? As long as you give me 100 rare treasures, the monkey said as he rubbed the stone rod in his hand. He looked eager to try. Chapter 1176. The monkey was very excited. This was related to the nature of their race. They were very aggressive. However, Jiangchen did not care. Although he was only a chief god now, his combat strength was extremely powerful. Today, he wanted to see if he could fight against the supreme god with his current cultivation level and all his strength. Today is the day I make a name for myself in the vast thousand world. Jiangchen's eyes narrowed. The dragon and tiger phantoms attached to his body, and it was as if he was wearing a battle suit. Bright divine light shot into the sky. Every inch of his skin was emitting light. It was as if there was a god sitting cross-legged in each of his pores, singing ancient scriptures. This posture was very terrifying. He was walking alone, but it was as if millions of living beings were accompanying him. This time, Jiangchen punched out. The fist light was vast and mighty, like a heavenly river piercing through, shattering the light that was covered with great Dao shards. Then Jiangchen strode forward like a king. As he waved his hands, roses bloomed. Together with his fist prints, he threw them over. A lower-ranked chief god? Zhou Xuandao was stunned. He could not understand how a lower-ranked chief god could have such combat strength. Although he had been a lower-ranked supreme god for a long time, it was because of this that his foundation had become very deep. His foundation was unbreakable, and his combat strength was far from what ordinary people could contend with, especially the light that was covered with great Dao shards. That was the Zhou Tian Cave's Dao technique. Divine will slash. Even among cultivators of the same level, very few could withstand the divine will slash, let alone shatter it with their physical body. No matter who you are, since you dare to attack me today, I dare to kill you. This is purgatory, and there is no such thing as unexpected strength. Zhou Xuandao shouted. As his eyes opened, another divine will slash was launched. This time, the roses on Jiangchen's chest bloomed, as if illuminating the past, present, and future. This part of the world was enveloped by the rose's light. The petals were sparkling and looked gentle, but in fact, they carried with them an endless aura of toughness. The tiger phantoms roared as if they were about to materialize. As they merged with the roses, the murderous aura suddenly skyrocketed. Perhaps this was just as the world said, the tiger in the heart sniffs the roses. Boom! With a loud explosion, rose petals fell from the sky and turned into a river of petals that collided with the spiritual slash's light. Then, both of them were annihilated. At the same time, Jiang Chun dashed out at an extremely high speed. He dashed up to Zhou Zhuandao like a phantom. Without any fancy movements, he raised his hand and punched Zhou Zhuandao's body. Puff! In an instant, Zhou Zhuandao's expression froze. Blood spurted out of his mouth. He took a few steps back, and a hint of ferocity and surprise appeared in his eyes. Holy shit! Was this still a lesser chief god? His combat strength is comparable to an ultimate god. Too strong. Monster! Exclamations rang out in the surroundings. Even Monkey was dumbfounded. He had seen many valiant cultivators, but he had never seen one as valiant as Jiang Chun. The monkey was even dumbfounded. With Jiang Chun's fighting prowess, he didn't have to deploy any formation when he was trapped in the bronze house. He could have defeated all those people with his great power. Could it be that he was pretending to be weak all this while? Monkey mumbled. At that moment, Zhou Zhuandao's eyes were filled with ferocity. With a wave of his hand, a green saber appeared in his hand. It's here. His Taoist soul, Green Dragon Peak. That's not just his Taoist soul. It said that he once obtained a secret skill that refined his Taoist soul and turned it into an item to prove his Tao. The power of the Green Dragon Peak is probably far greater than before. Many people exclaimed. Half of Zhou Zhuandao's strength came from the Green Dragon Peak. Seeing this, Jiang Chun did not dare to be careless. He wanted to summon the Emperor's Vine and the Undying Bird, but those two fellows were still undergoing nirvana and did not move at all. It's time to try. At that moment, Jiang Chun did not hesitate. He stretched out his hand and shouted, "Greedy Ghost!" Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the greedy ghost showed up in Jiang Chun's hand, and a brutal killing intent erupted from it. Greedy Ghost? His Taoist soul? Is the greedy ghost? Exclamations were heard again. Some people were confused. Why was Jiang Chun, who had the greedy ghost, not devoured? They did not know that the greedy ghost was the result of the fusion of 9 heavens and the greedy ghost. It was also Jiang Chun's item to prove his Tao. The number 1 Taoist soul of massacre in the world, the greedy ghost against the invincible Green Dragon Peak. Today's battle is going to be interesting. If their cultivations are the same, I'm looking forward to this battle. It's a pity that the gap between their cultivations is too big. Jiang Chun is destined to lose this battle. While the crowd was talking, they saw Jiang Chun holding the greedy ghost and throwing it over. At the same time, the Green Dragon Peak in Zhou Zhuandao's hand struck out from below and collided with the greedy ghost. Boom! Boom! After a few explosions, the crowd saw that Zhou Zhuandao's hand, which was holding the Green Dragon Peak, actually trembled slightly. As for Jiang Chun, he was forced to take a step back. What? He was only forced to take a step back. Zhou Zhuandao's hand is trembling. At that moment, Jiang Chun did not care about the voices around him. He lifted the greedy ghost again, and the divine power in his body exploded. As he slashed down with his sword, a blood-stained ghost seemed to appear. With a sharp edge, the bloody aura and the killing aura blended together. With one slash, the entire world dimmed. However, Zhou Zhuandao was also very powerful. He did not dodge at all. As the Green Dragon Peak swept out, one could vaguely see a green dragon bursting out from the blade. Boom! At that moment, an earth-shattering explosion was heard. Many people covered their ears and closed their eyes. This was because when the two collided, the light and sound emitted was too loud. In an instant, the crowd heard someone coughing up blood. When they opened their eyes, they saw Jiang Chun half kneeling on the ground, using the greedy ghost to support his body. Blood was constantly spurting out from his mouth. They looked at Zhou Zhuandao again. He was standing on the spot. Although his hair was a little messy, his aura was strong. I told you that Jiang Chun can't do it. The difference between their cultivation levels is too big, someone said. Just as he was about to continue speaking, he heard a very clear sound. What? It's broken? The green dragon peak is broken? At that moment, the crowd saw Zhou Zhuandao's face gradually turn pale. The green dragon peak in his hand was broken into pieces. At the same time, the hand that was holding the green dragon peak exploded. The broken green dragon peak was only left with the hilt, which fell to the ground. The item to prove your Tao has been destroyed. Your Tao foundation is broken. What else do you have to fight me? Jiang Chun seemed to be struggling, but he slowly stood up. His eyes were burning, and his hair was stained with blood. He looked like a murderous king. Chapter 1177. A gust of wind blew past, piercing deeply into Zhou Zhuandao's heart like an icicle. He stood rooted to the ground, unable to accept this fact even until now. How could a lower-rank lord have such combat strength? How many trials had he gone through? He had also walked on the edge of life and death. He had risen through hundreds of battles, and now he could look down on his peers. This time, as long as he returned, the Zhou Tian Cave's position as the son of Saint would be his. But now, all his beautiful dreams had been shattered by Jiang Chen's sword. His Taoist treasure had been shattered, and his Taoist foundation had been shattered. Even if his cultivation was still there, his path had come to an end. From the moment Green Dragon Peak collapsed, he knew that his life had come to an end. I don't understand. After a dozen breaths, Zhou Zhuandao spoke. His voice was weak, but more than that, it was filled with confusion. What don't you understand? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. The greedy spirit in his hand pointed at Zhou Zhuandao and said, "You're weak, so you lost. That's all. Because I'm weak, so I lost, that's all." Zhou Zhuandao said softly. Then he laughed bitterly and sighed. Yes, it's such a simple principle. What else can I not understand? After saying that, Zhou Zhuandao looked at Jiang Chun and said calmly, "Kill me or torture me as you wish. You're still useful to me." Jiang Chun said softly. Then he placed layers of seals into Zhou Zhuandao's body, sealing his cultivation. However, Jiang Chun was also worried. If the Zhou Tian Cave knew that Zhou Zhuandao's Taoist foundation had been shattered and that he had reached the end of his path, would the Zhou Tian Cave still value him? If they didn't, would the Zhou Tian Cave agree to exchange Zhou Zhuandao for his life? When he thought of that, Jiang Chun sighed heavily. He secretly thought that he had gone overboard. However, under the circumstances just now, if Jiang Chun had not attacked with all his might, he would have died. It's like a dream. When I woke up, the battle ended just like that. It's too terrifying. A lower-rank lord suppressing a godly venerable. This combat strength. How many people have there been since ancient times? Cries of surprise rang out from all around. The battle was over, but the people around them were unable to calm down. They found it very difficult to understand how a lesser chief god had to cultivate in order to possess such combat strength. However, there was one thing that they understood. After this battle, Jiang Chen's name would resound throughout the great thousand world. Monkey, are there more people like him in the land of purgatory? At this moment, Jiang Chen looked at the young man from the ancient divine monkey clan, wondering if he should get a few more people like Zhou Zhuandao. Otherwise, the Zhou Tian Cave wouldn't have agreed to exchange people if they didn't have enough bargaining chips. Do you think he's a cabbage? Monkey said snappily. There aren't many people like Zhou Zhuandao. What a pity. Jiang Chen sighed, feeling very depressed. It wouldn't be appropriate for him to abandon the Zhou Tian Cave. At the very least, he had to try the Zhou Tian Cave. But he couldn't abandon him. A person whose Taoist foundation had been destroyed was indeed of no value to him. Fellow Jiang Chen, are you going to the Zhou Tian Cave? Monkey narrowed his eyes and looked Jiang Chen up and down. You're going there to cause trouble, right? What do you think? Jiang Chen said snappily. How about this? If you can afford it, I can help you go to the Zhou Tian Cave. Monkey said, I'll bring a few patriarchs from my clan to hold the fort for you. No need. Thank you. Jiang Chen shook his head and said, What kind of joke was this? With Jiang Qin's current status, would he need this monkey's help? As long as he said the word, Jiang Qinkuan and the Supreme Heavens would definitely take action without any hesitation. Calculating the time, Jiang Qinkuan and the Supreme Heavens should have already brought Nayland Mayer back from the Zhou cave. Looks like there's nothing for me to do here. In the end, Jiang Qin decided to leave this place and return to Zhou Prefecture first. After all, he had only come to the land of purgatory to look for someone. In the end, Jiang Chun left with Zhou Tsang. As for Mu Xingyun, he had already slipped away. He knew that his status was very special. If he continued to stay here, he would probably be blocked again. Half an hour later, in Zhou Prefecture, after Jiang Chun and Zhou Tsang returned to Zhou Prefecture through the teleportation portal, they went straight to the main hall. The wedding banquet had already ended. The main hall seemed a little cold and cheerless. Only the prefects of Zhou and a few elders were sitting together and discussing matters. At this moment, when he saw that Jiang Chun had returned, the prefects of Zhou hurriedly stood up and respectfully offered his seat with a face full of smiles. Jiang Chun sat down on the seat of the prefect of Zhou Prefecture and asked with squinted eyes, "Are the two seniors not back yet?" "Not yet." The prefects of Zhou had a strange expression on his face. He said, "But I've received news that the two seniors have already brought Nayland Mayer out of the Zhou cave." "Oh, then why aren't they back yet?" Jiang Chun asked. "This seems to have brought Nayland Mayer away. As for whether she was brought to the Great Void Race or the Jiang clan, I'm not sure," the prefects of Zhou said. As soon as he said this, Jiang Chen's expression suddenly changed. Jiang Chen's first reaction was that Jiang Qinkuan and the Supreme Heavens wanted to threaten him with Nayland Mayer so that Jiang Chun would obey the orders of the two great evil clans. However, on second thought, he felt that something was wrong. With the background of the two great evil clans, was it necessary to do this? Could there be other reasons? Jiang Chun whispered and glanced at the prefects of Zhou. He thought to himself that this guy probably didn't know much, so there was no point in continuing to ask. "Where are Beta Heike and Luotian?" Jiang Chun asked. "They're in the backyard." "We don't dare to neglect his honor's people," the prefects of Zhou said. Hearing this, Jiang Chun nodded and walked toward the backyard. The backyard of Zhou Prefecture was very large and was divided into two levels. Beta Heike and Luotian were now arranged to stay in a room on the outer level. When Jiang Chun pushed open the door and entered the room, he saw Beta Heike lying on the bed. His eyes were empty and lifeless, as if he had given up on any thoughts. Luotian was also dejected and looked at Beta Heike from time to time. No one knew what he was thinking. What's going on? At this moment, Jiang Chun looked at Beta Heike, especially his lower body. He was even more puzzled. Beta Heike's seal had been broken and his cultivation had been restored. With Beta Heike's cultivation, it would not be a problem for him to reforge his body. However, Beta Heike's legs were still broken. Suzuki Valley has a special method of sealing. Luotian sighed and said, "Whoever started the trouble should end it." There's still a layer of seal in his body that can only be broken by people from Suzuki Valley. "Oh, there's such a seal?" Jiang Chun frowned slightly. He was very good at things like seals. Then he walked to Beta Heike's side and inserted a strand of divine power into his body. After a few moments of observation, his expression turned serious and he exclaimed softly, "This seal is indeed difficult to break." "So, in the end, we still have to return to Suzuki Valley." Luotian smiled bitterly and said, "It's just that. Suzuki Valley might not help him break the seal." Chapter 1178. Looking at Beta Heike, who seemed to have lost all hope, Jiang Chun also felt terrible. The Pingtian clan had sacrificed so much for the Six Realms. In the end, they could not even protect their last descendant. With her legs chopped off and the seal in her body difficult to break, Beta Heike's eyes were empty and lifeless. She seemed to have lost all hope. "Let's go to Suzuki Valley." At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. He carried Beta Heike on his back and said in a low voice, "I'll take you to break the seal." Jiang Qinkuan and the supreme heavens aren't here. Will Suzuki Valley give you face? Beta Heike smiled bitterly. We all understand. Whether it's Zhou Prefecture or Suzuki Valley, they're not giving you face. They're giving face to the two evil races. Now that they're not here, although Suzuki Valley won't do anything to you, they won't give you face and break the seal for me either. Hearing this, Jiangchen did not say much. He only told Beta Heike to leave everything to him. In the end, Jiangchen carried Beta Heike on his back and brought Jiang Zixue with him. The three of them used Zhou Prefecture's teleportation portal and arrived at the world where Suzuki Valley was located. Suzuki Valley was not very famous in the Eastern Star Zone, but it was not insignificant either. In particular, Suzuki Valley's style of doing things could be said to be ugly. If not for the fact that Suzuki Valley had formed an alliance with several major forces, with Suzuki Valley's style of doing things, they would have been wiped out by their enemies long ago. You almost killed Mu Fengyan before. Can Suzuki Valley help him break the seal? Jiang Zixue asked. Whether they agree or not, Beta Heike's seal must be broken, Jiangchen said in a low voice. As he spoke, Jiangchen glanced at Jiang Zixue and asked, "Can you contact your clan's elders now? If they can come over, this matter will be easily resolved. This place is too far away from our ancestral land. Even if we use a secret technique to send a message over, it will take several days for the elders to arrive." Jiang Zixue said with a wry smile, "If I had known this, I would have solved all these problems when Ancestor Heaven and Earth was still here." Sigh. Jiangchen also sighed. Previously, he did not know that the seal in Beta Heike's body was difficult to break. If he had known, he would have directly asked Jiang Qinquan and the Supreme Heavens for help. Now, he had to do it himself. After coming down from the teleportation portal, Jiangchen carried Beta Heike on his back and soon arrived at the gate of the Suzuki Valley. The Suzuki Valley was not very big, but it was shrouded in the power of heaven and earth, making it difficult to attack and easy to defend. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the Suzuki Valley, Jiang Chun sensed that the gate was surrounded by formations and enchantments, as well as some restrictions. Moreover, in the sky above the Suzuki Valley, there were layers of substances that looked like divine rays of light, flickering up and down like starlight. Those layers of divine rays gave Jiang Chen a very dangerous feeling. "Yo, isn't this Jiang Chen? What brings you to my Suzuki Valley?" At this moment, Mu Fengyan seemed to know that Jiang Chen had arrived. He flew from the depths of the gate to the gate and stared at Jiang Chen mockingly. "Young Valley Master of the Suzuki Valley, Mu Fengyan," Jiang Chen said contemptuously, "are you here to welcome me?" "Ha, you're thinking too much." Mu Fengyan smiled contemptuously and said, "Outside, you're indeed terrifying, especially with your status. But here, in my territory, what are you?" As he spoke, he pointed at the divine rays of light above his head and said, "Do you know what this is? The light of grace. As long as it's here, even extraordinaires will find it difficult to invade my Suzuki Valley." "Oh, then what do you mean?" Jiang Chen said softly. Looking at Mu Fengyan's attitude, he most likely knew why Jiang Chen had come to the Suzuki Valley. In that case, he could only wait for Mu Fengyan to state his conditions. "I don't mean anything. As the representative of the Jiang clan and the highest consecrator of the Great Void Race, my little Suzuki Valley can't afford to offend you." Mu Fengyan said mockingly, "Go back to where you came from. Looks like you don't agree?" A cold glint flashed in Jiang Chen's eyes. He pointed at Beta Heike on his back and said, "Today, you have to break the seal in his body, even if you don't understand it." "I don't understand." Mu Fengyan raised his eyebrows and said, "What can you do to me? Today, even if extraordinaires from the two evil races come, my Suzuki Valley won't give them any face." After saying that, Mu Fengyan turned around and waved at Jiang Chen, saying, "You can raise this good-for-nothing for the rest of your life." "Brat, what you said just now, are you representing the Suzuki Valley or just yourself?" Jiang Zixue said coldly. Just based on what Mu Fengyan said just now, he was already provoking the two evil races. Just based on this point, with the temperament of the Jiang clan, they could really come knocking on his door. What's your Jiang clan? Now my Suzuki Valley has a new backer. Your Jiang clan is nothing. Mu Fengyan said contemptuously. Today, even if the leader of your Jiang clan comes, my Suzuki Valley won't give him any face. You! At this moment, Jiang Zixio exploded in anger. His face was flushed red, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. However, just as Mu Fengyan said, there was the light of grace above this place, which was condensed by the power of heaven and earth. Even if an extraordinaire came, it would be difficult to break in. Now, they could only watch as Mu Fengyan acted arrogantly in front of the mountain gate. There was nothing they could do to him. What else can the Suzuki Valley do other than constantly cozying up and changing backers? Jiang Zixio said coldly. Since he could not enter the Suzuki Valley, he could only use his mouth. Mu Fengyan suddenly stopped when he heard that. He slowly turned around and looked at Jiang Zixio with contempt, saying, cozying up and changing backers is also a kind of ability. After saying that, Mu Fengyan smiled coldly and stared at Jiang Zixio, saying, if you continue to make a ruckus outside the mountain gate, don't blame me for being rude to you. As soon as he said that, Jiang Chun and Jiang Zixio's expressions changed. Obviously, if Mu Fengyan dared to say that, it meant that he really dared to make a move. Then, where did Mu Fengyan's confidence come from? There was only one answer, and that was the Suzuki Valley's new backer. Jiang Chun did not know how complicated the forces in the vast thousand domains were, but Jiang Zixio knew very well. This time, the Suzuki Valley might have really found a backer who was not afraid of the Jiang clan. Jiang Zixio said softly. He gave Jiang Chun a look and prepared to leave first. As the saying went, a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Jiang Chun thought so too. But just as he was about to leave, he saw a red figure flash past the mountain gate of the Suzuki Valley. Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment. He rubbed his eyes and asked Jiang Zixio, did you see a woman in red just now? I saw her, Jiang Zixio said angrily. Look at the situation now, and you still have time to look at women. Then, I don't think I saw wrong, Jiang Chun muttered. He had some thoughts and guesses in his mind. Then, he held his breath and shouted at the top of his voice. I am Jiang Chun, and I am here to visit the mountain. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.